We're not American. We are people who formerly were Africans who were kidnapped and brought to America. Our forefathers weren't the Pilgrims. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us. We were brought here against our will. We were not brought here to be made citizens. We were not brought here to enjoy the constitutional gifts that they speak so beautifully about today. And because we weren't brought here to be made citizens today, now that we've become awakened to some degree and we begin to ask for those things which they say are supposedly for Americans, they look upon us with hostility and unfriendliness. So our unwanted presence, the fact that we are unwanted, is becoming magnified in all of America's preachments today. In the United Nations, you have poor nations and rich nations. They say that the most powerful bloc in the UN are the African Asian bloc. These are the poor nations. Yet they carry more weight in this political body than the nations do who have all the money. Why? Because no matter how wealthy America is, she only has one vote. No matter how wealthy Russia is, she only has one vote. Whereas all the poor nations in Africa who have just emerged into independence, they have each a vote too. And they stick together and are able to outmaneuver the rich nations. This isn't by having independence and the right to vote in the political world body, it has enabled the dark nations to band together and use the strength of their ballot to force the wealthy nations, which are the white nations, into giving more independence to other nations who are still under their jurisdiction. You and I have to look at this and understand this, that the ballot is as powerful as the bullet. Now, if you and I leave it up to the moderate Negro leaders, they'll be able to trick it up and make the world think that they passed something that doesn't really mean anything. So what you and I have got to do is get involved. You and I have to be right there breathing down their throat. Every time they look over their shoulder, we want them to see us. We want to make them pass the strongest civil rights bill they've ever passed. Because we know even after they pass it, they can't enforce it. In order to do this, we're starting a voters registration drive. We have to get everybody in Harlem registered, not as Democrats or Republicans, but registered as independents. We're going to organize a corps of brothers and sisters who, after the city is mapped out, they won't leave one apartment house door not knocked on. There won't be a door in Harlem that will not have been knocked on to see that whatever black face lives behind that door is registered to vote by a certain time this year. Nobody will have an excuse not to be registered. We'll ask him, let us see your card. If you don't have the sense of responsibility to get registered, we'll move you out of town. It's going to be the ballot or the bullet. After we get our people registered, we can then organize that voting strength and channel it in the direction that will get immediate results for the benefit of our people. We can sweep our enemies right out of office, but we will not be able to do it sitting around talking about select and elect your own candidates.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another live broadcast on the forecast. Um, I came on. What's going on, Raw? I appreciate you for coming through. I came on. I know a lot of people is probably watching the game. I wish I could have came on earlier when it was first starting. But I guess they forgot about it already. Like watching, sports, watching football and stuff. But it is what it is. So I came on here to entertain, myself and then others who is like me. And I wanted to, show something a little bit different. I don't normally get into it, but I do think that this is an important conversation and that we should be having. But you know what? We're gonna do this. I guess it might just be me and you in this joint tonight, Raw, because I'm pretty sure everybody is, you know, going back to their, or I can't call them slaves. I can't call them slaves because it makes them feel uncomfortable. But you know, they go back to doing what they do. But we're gonna be here, doing our politicking. You know what I'm saying? Now I want to show something that's a little bit different. I'm not gonna show a bunch of stuff, but I'm gonna show like something, and it's gonna be a little bit longer, right? And normally I wouldn't even play these videos, and I don't want to play this guy's video in the first place. But like even just other YouTube people. But I think that it was something here that I think that's important to discuss. You know what I'm saying? Especially with a lot of this stuff. And then we'll get off of here. Should be done by the time they done Raw, so we'll get off of here before they come on there. But if anybody come in and they want to jump on and chop it up, that's cool with me. We can come on here, politic. All right. So here we go. Now, like I said, I don't want to play this dude's video, but it's a point to this, and I think, like I said, especially when it's coming up to this election season and this whole thing with the Democrats and you know, immigrants and stuff like that. And like I said, it's not really about the brother here or what I'm saying, the guy here whose channel it is. It's really so more so about somebody else on here. So I kind of skipped a lot of what he was saying because he go on and on. But I'm gonna just play it,
That'll
right,
make some
and
damn
so
good
you get some
TV.
context.
Well, it's quite theatrical what you just outlined there. And I don't think that Democrats tend to dabble too much in theater in the same way that Republicans do. Republicans understand that you don't let a good crisis go to waste, and they know how to capitalize off of chaos. That's why you have these Republican governors trafficking human beings, migrants across the country, dumping them in places where they don't have the resources, and twisting the arms of Democratic mayors and governors. I think that as appalling as Eric Adams can be on many things, he at least had enough sense to file a lawsuit, fight back against the bus companies to make it appear as though he's trying to do something to stem the crisis that is being inflicted upon his city because of the Republican governors trafficking migrants to his area. I think the big thing is the immigration issue is a losing issue for Democrats, to the extent that they can win back some people who are disgruntled about what's happening with the immigration crisis. You're going to lose people who are more so pro-immigration or at least pro-humane treatment of migrants. And so that's why they're
Well, Joe Biden did say America is doomed not only because of African Americans, but then he also said America is doomed because the the West West Arabs are growing and quote unquote growing in number.
they're being very mute and very hands off in terms of the coverage and the messaging around what's happening with immigration. And they have to figure out some sort of sweet spot to not necessarily elevate the issue beyond where it already is with Republicans taking advantage of it, but also seeming like they're doing something. And we talked about this a few weeks ago. I don't know that they are doing much. I mean, I know statistically speaking, border crossings are down, people deportations are up compared to even how many people Trump
And by the way, when they say these things, there are good questions you can ask. Like, when she like, yo, it's down. Like, spanning what time frame? Like the last week, or the last year, or the last however many years that this dude is, or when they say quote unquote statistics like that,
Deported, but those are not the kinds of things that they necessarily want to advertise because they don't want to alienate certain aspects of the Democratic base. So this is a very thorny issue. But one thing Republicans have figured out is they rarely, if ever, get penalized for incompetence, for obstruction, and for not solving things. And Democrats, on the other hand, do get penalized for not fixing the world with the stroke of a pen.
Look, here's the deal, Greg. I get all of the hand wringing, but frankly, I think it's weak. At the end of the day.
All right, so like I said, like, yo, you could listen to it, you know what I'm saying? And I don't have like timestamps or nothing like that, so I'm not gonna do that. But what I will do is, I'm gonna go. But it's because it's not about him anyway, Now this is. Let me see.
Fine, Donald Trump. You want to come back into the Oval Office? I invite you to come down to the U.S. Capitol for the meeting as well. Reagan was there for 8 years, and so
talking about Ronald Reagan, like, and young people be like, "Well, Ronald Reagan, like, what are you talking about?" But the thing is really
be wishy-washy on this thing.
No, Roland, I don't think that there's an answer really.
Now listen, this brother here, right, is, and it's not nothing personal with him, you know what I'm saying? Now, this brother here is a professor, you know what I'm saying, and teaches, at Black institutions, you know what I'm saying? But one thing about him, this is Professor Greg Carr, right? So one thing about him, right? He's like the school of, he's talking about what he's from. So he led a team of academics and educators in the design of the curriculum framework for Philadelphia's mandatory high school African American history course, right? And so this is what I'm saying. Like, this brother designs curriculums, you know what I'm saying, and he also worked on curriculums for like HBCUs and Africana studies. And I'll tell you this, with this brother, like, he's smoking me in like Black people all time history, you know what I'm saying? But I could definitely hold my own in the last like 700, 800 years, you know what I'm saying, as far as history goes, and it's nothing against this brother, you know what I'm saying? It's just that, but this is, what this is about. So, I'm going to play what he's about to say here.
You can't be wishy-washy on this thing.
No, Roland, I don't think that there's an answer really to this because it has been framed. Immigration is a problem. That is the framing. That is a lie. That is incorrect. We, of course, are the largest population of forced immigrants in this country, having been brought here against our will.
Now, hold on. He was like, we are the largest population of forced immigrants. I don't know if that makes sense. It may make sense. I don't know. But I don't know if that makes sense or not. He was like, we was forced immigrants. You mean like we was kidnapped and like brought here in chains and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's saying. But and for this purpose, this is, you know what I'm saying, this African Americans professor at a Black institution, and this is what I'm talking about with particular, you know what I'm saying, people. But even in a height, like, he is, and this is because he knows history. This is the problem. Like, he knows history and the words that he chooses. And I'm pretty sure that he's on here, you know what I'm saying? And this is not against not getting paid and all. I know they be on that capitalism stuff, but I don't know what forced immigration means, Maybe it's correct. Maybe it was forced immigration. I just call it like kidnapping and rape and murder.
is a problem. That is the framing. That is a lie. That is incorrect. We, of course, are the largest population of forced immigrants in this country, having been brought here against our will. And everybody but the indigenous people is an immigrant. I won't even get into why you should be calling Mexicans
Hell,
immigrants.
first of all, I was just reading the Washington Post story last night about the BS about the Alamo, and all them white folks who came to Texas when Mexico was running were actually immigrants.
Absolutely. In fact, as your friend Gerald Horn, as you have talked with him, and I have as well here on this network with the counter-revolution of 1836, these are cold-blooded white nationalists. And as far as I'm concerned, and Jim Bowie had enslaved Africans in the Alamo Fort. And if we knew our history, we'd be cheering for the Mexicans.
Wait, now time out, right? So now he's saying like, yo, we will be cheering for the and I'm pretty sure that we probably were cheering for the damn Mexicans until we got stabbed in the back that time, you know what I'm saying, like 200 years ago, right? Now, this brother knows about history, right? When he's talking about like all of this stuff, right? Because even the time that he mentioned, right? Ask him who was the first black president of Mexico, right? And which would be, and I'm gonna show you, first black president of Mexico was Vincent Guerrero. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to say it in a correct way, but you know. But during his presidency, he abolished slavery in Mexico. You know what I'm saying? He tried to do away with the caste system pretty much, you know what I'm saying? Now, I'm pretty sure that he was like mixed, a mulatto, you know what I'm saying? But I guess that was enough, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the one drop rule thing that we still go by. All right, so, and I'll play this. I'll play this brother here.
The first black president of Mexico. Vicente Guerrero was born in 1782 in Tixla, Mexico. In 1810, he joined General Jose Maria Morelos y Pavon, leader of the rebel army against Spain in the Mexican War of Independence. His skills as a soldier and leader would first be on display during the Battle of Azúcar in 1812. In December of 1815, Jose Pavon was captured and executed by the Royal Spanish forces. Guerrero became the commander-in-chief of the rebel forces. Under Guerrero, the rebel army was very successful, winning close to 500 battles, using guerrilla warfare tactics to confuse and defeat the Spanish. In 1829, Guerrero became the second president of Mexico and the first president of African and indigenous mestizo heritage. And on September 16, 1829, Guerrero abolished slavery.
Right. So, and I'm pretty sure that I'm like 98.6% sure that like Professor Dr. Greg Carr knows about this. But I would be like, yo, ask him what happened when he's talking about, oh, we should be rooting for Mexico. Well, what happened to this brother? You know what I'm saying? And first of all, we don't know about him. But ask him what happened to this brother, right? How the mulatto, you know what I'm saying, Mexican, the East Arab or West Arab, was like, no, you're trying to do away with the caste system. You're a Negro. You don't belong here. Then they exiled and or executed him. You know what I'm saying? Which he can fill in the story a lot better than me. You know what I'm saying? And eventually, I guess we're gonna get there soon because this is like the time that I left off. I still remember where we left off, but anyway, let me go back to the thing. So he's just to talk about rooting for like Mexicans and stuff.
Work with the counter-revolution of 1836. These are cold-blooded white nationalists. And as far as I'm concerned, and Jim Bowie had enslaved Africans in the Alamo Fort. And if we knew our history, we'd be cheering for the Mexicans. But of course, this is where the problem comes up. You're talking about white nationalists. The Democrats are soft white nationalists, and the Republicans are the hardcore white nationalists. And in this case,
yo, what the hell is a soft white nationalist? The hell is a soft white nationalist? They're all white nationalists. They just argue about how their nation should be. You know what I'm saying? They be like, oh no, we want it this way. I'm a this and this. They just make up words and just put, oh, this means this. You know what I'm saying? but no, they're all white nationalists. They just argue about how the nation should be, you know what I'm saying, and the policies that they should have, right? I don't know what soft white nationalist means, but anyway.
As always with foreign policy, it is nativism that is driving this. Now, if there is a United States of America in 100 years, it's going to be very different than the one that is here today. And we're going to look back on this moment as perhaps the death knell of white nationalism in this specific regard. Federalism protecting white nationalists worked in the Civil War. It worked in the so-called civil rights movement, but this has never gone away. There is no immigration policy in the federal Constitution. The Immigration and Nationalization Act of 1965, following an earlier iteration in the 1920s, is when they got worried about immigration because it began to be less white. And the Italians and Jews.
Boom. Sustained.
Exactly. But
first of all, what? But he was like, you know, I don't know if he said the first, but you know, he mentioned Immigration Act of like 1965 and the 1920s and several others, but he said it wasn't in the Constitution, you know, which I guess it wasn't. But right, so America's first immigration law, right? And I'm pretty sure a lot of people know about this. And I know that he knows about this for sure. You know what I'm saying? So the first major piece of U.S. legislation was the Naturalization Act, was signed in 1790, about the time of that Constitution he was talking about. Said it began the nation's first naturalization process by providing access to America to free white immigrants, right? Western Europe, well, from the ghettos of Europe, you know what I'm saying? And so that they could bring their children and, you know what, whiten up the nation, right? The dude like Benjamin Franklin and all of them, who they'd be like, oh, that good old TJ, they was abolitionists and all that nonsense. They were like, no, this is a white nation. We need to increase our numbers because these Negroes is going to rise up and kill us one day. So we got to get them the hell out of here. That's what he was saying, you know. But that's just, I guess, I don't know if that's what he was saying, but that was the first one.
Following an earlier iteration in the 1920s is when they got worried about immigration because it began to be less white. And the Italians and Jews.
Boom. Sustained.
Exactly. But
sustained.
You know, but 100 years
yeah, I
from
don't
now,
understand why that was a
might
major
be
point,
the largest minority group in a majority, quote unquote, minority country. This is going to be a very different conversation. Now, how does that speak to today? Joe Biden can't take the position that immigration is good for the economy. Now, we just saw today, numbers released, the economy is booming, GDP is up. Now, that doesn't hit everybody's pocketbooks.
Yeah, I mean, like eggs is like $16. Yeah, of course, like, but it also doesn't account for like who is getting these jobs, you know, who is, you know, I guess they're going to talk about the money for the HBCUs, like who is getting this and who is getting that, you know. Yo, what's going on? You know, I ain't going to disrespect Professor Dr. Greg Carr. I'm extremely or vehemently, or however you say that, disagree with him.
In the same way.
Oh yeah, and Craig, thank you for like. I see you ain't watching. That's why it's only me and Raw in here. You can probably guess why. You know what I'm saying? Why it's only me and Raw in here tonight. And I guess we'll go off by the time, you know what I'm saying, they done, you know.
Because a majority of these fools trust Donald Trump to handle the economy better than Joe Biden. So we know this isn't about information. A third of the voters in the Iowa caucus has said their number one issue is immigration. I didn't know that was an issue in Iowa. It's not. What is at issue is white supremacy and nationalism here, nativism. So what the Democrats can do, however, to the point that you're raising, is take off the gloves and fight within the context of an unwinnable argument about immigration, because immigration is not an issue. But we have to set that aside because we're not talking about rational actors now. We're talking about nationalists and people who don't pay attention. What he can do is...
By the way, they're all nationalists. You know what I'm saying? I was just telling you, you know.
Federalize.
Technically, that's what it is. Like, like that's literally like what it is. Like they're talking about their nation. Like, you know what I'm saying? They're talking about the white nation, you know.
Texas National Guard. What he can do, like Congressman Castro and them are saying, look, man, stop playing with this shovel-mouthed bastard governor who is trying to spark a civil war. Stop playing with people like this hillbilly J.D. Vance in Ohio who is saying, don't send this bipartisan legislation to the House because MAGA Mike Johnson has already said that onward Christian soldier is going to die and they're going to blame MAGA. He has to push back against someone like Tom Tillis in North Carolina, who's up for election in a couple of years as that state continues to change demographically, who is like, this isn't weak legislation. Y'all just scared of Donald Trump. Nobody will say anything. You just got to seize the moment and push back. Finally, this.
Now this is supposed to be about immigrants because they go
this
on
is an
and
election
on
year,
and
as
on.
we know. The mummy is going to lose Michigan behind this Israel-Palestine business. That is a terrifying thing. It should be terrifying.
Yeah, as long as it ain't black, you're definitely gonna lose that vote.
You can't square foreign policy with the white nationalists because this country exports white nationalism, meaning their foreign policy on that issue, they're both the same. This is why the mummy McConnell wants to pass the Ukraine package and knows that this immigration thing is a problem. But what we have in this country is a dying white nationalism, and the Republican Party has bet everything on.
Now, how is it a dying white nationalist when he just said the Democrats is soft white nationalists? Whatever soft white nationalist means. How is it dying if it's just a choice between if you want to get like if you want somebody to smile in your face and stab you in the back, or if you want them just to stab you in your face, I guess.
Staying in power a little while longer by clinging to it. And Joe Biden has to make a choice. Either you're going to come up out of that soft white nationalism and attack them, or you're going to continue to whistle past the graveyard, lose, and you know who's going to get stuck with the bill for that? The people who watch this show, not the mummy Joe Biden. He's going to be in Delaware. We the ones going to have to face the naked face of white nationalism in this country if Trump gets back in office.
People.
Wait, hold on. If Trump gets back in office, what about the damn Ukrainians? What the world? Oh man, what's it? He said, see, that's the thing. If Trump, that's when we go see the white nationalism. Or I don't know, because he just said it was soft white nationalism. So we still gonna see it no matter what. I don't know. I'm confused.
Need to understand what is truly at play, and absolutely. And for all the people who are watching, this is why I keep trying to explain to y'all why you got to stop spending so much of your time on the gossip blogs and all the other BS. Because what is happening right now, y'all, we actually saw this in the last 15 years. You know where we saw it? Europe. Guess what's been going on in Europe?
All right, so he go on and on and on.
Too late. Because guess what?
He was talking this whole time.
All of the people who were living in rural China.
All right, saying I don't know what they talk about. They talk about like China and Europe and stuff.
Where you're processing people properly.
Let me see. He says something.
And Instagram political scientists to understand the large of folks who are black immigrants who are in Minnesota. You're going to want those black immigrants in Houston, largest Nigerian population. You're going to want those black folks from Liberia, black folks from Bermuda. See, this is when I need our people to stop listening to YouTube economists.
Come on.
It's almost some
TikTok anthropologists and Instagram political scientists to understand the larger picture what we're dealing with here. You have to create a functioning system where you're processing people properly, and then where they're also going. Because the last point I make here is this here. For all y'all people who are sitting here, who are freaking out, guess what? Black and brown immigrants is what has changed the population shift and the electoral shift in places like Arizona, New
That's right.
Mexico.
Or they started voting more Republican out there? What happened? How did this shift it? Republicans got a stronger hold out there because of the Mexicans?
Georgia.
That's right.
See, this is the problem, Reese, that we got too many people listening
Now, I'll skip some because he was
dumb
dissing us
folk
for a while.
on social media who are not fully understanding of what's going on here. And while these same people are yelling and screaming about...
Now, I would say he probably said something that a couple of things, but I can't go through it because I don't got the timestamp. If we like fact checked it, like when they be like, oh yeah, the voters' right to, like, y'all ain't about the voters. They're like, when they say that in the civil rights, it's like a thing right now where they got going on with the Indians, you know what I'm saying? The Chinese Indians, you know what I'm saying? Where they are like, they trying to get, but they also have like the reservation and all of that stuff, you know what I'm saying? But and that's when they like, so they would like, yeah, they're trying to do something with this. And also with like affirmative action, you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of stuff, you know?
Migrants coming in, they don't even have remotely the same energy when it comes to advocating for public policy.
He probably watching the game right now, so
people
he gonna miss this, so I could do it right now.
That directly impacts us. They spend more energy trying to fight them versus, hold up, wait a minute, hold up. Let's make sure these folks are elected. Then let's make sure these dollars are apportioned. Because I'm going to say it again.
Right.
Congressman Bobby Scott was sitting here.
Now, he was talking, I skipped
but what I do want
like
to say
4
is,
minutes
look at what we've covered in this show with the Crown Act. When you have white national
goods and services, another round, Reese, Lauren, then Greg.
Yeah, and I want to caution Black people in particular who do find some sort of sympathy or community in the notion that immigration is a problem. I don't mean immigration is a problem in the strictest sense. I mean trafficking people and dumping them off with no resources is a problem. That's the crisis that we're talking about here.
No, hold on, they don't have. It's not that they don't have. They're getting like our resources. I need my resources right now. I can't be feeding nobody else. You know what I'm saying? I'm hungry. You feel me? I'm gonna feed them, and I'm hungry. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just the thing about it. Now she's like walking back what she was saying. She was like, "Oh yeah, this inhumane treatment, putting children and in cages." And now, okay, we could talk about recently. I guess Black people, they have done something right. You know, Mexico has finally decided to put Black people on the census. So I guess we can, you know, open up a room in your house and let them stay there. You know what I'm saying?
Not just the fact that people are coming to this country. But I don't know that. But what I do want to say is look at what we've covered in this show with the Crown Act.
All right. Now, this is really about my brother.
Enterprise called the United States of America, this settler state. And people hear me say that and they say, why would you say everybody calm down?
Maybe I'll show you. Let me see his beginning.
There that need to be dealt with.
Greg?
She got the Audible Wells book in the back and everything.
What we have is the unfinished business of changing the fundamental structure of this criminal enterprise called the United States of America, this settler state. And people hear me say that and they say, why would you say everybody calm down?
Yeah, we all know
the chance to do that was the Civil War and Reconstruction, the Reconstruction Amendments, 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. And I won't go into this in detail today. We've talked about this a long time, many times. Everybody has talked about this in one way or the other. The simple fact of the matter is that this country, if it wants to be what it claims to be,
I'm sorry, I ain't got time.
It's going to have to treat all human beings with a fundamental, basic decency. And people say, well, if you're not a citizen, you can't be treated like citizens. That's simply not true. When you read the 14th Amendment, Section 1, the Privileges and Immunity Clause, it says that, you know, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. They made up substantive due process in the slaughterhouse case.
Yo, and time out, by the way, you notice all their laws say person, but every time they talk about you ain't a damn person, right? And they specifically say persons, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, when did they like when I try to tell you, like, if you actually look at the quote unquote 14th and 15th Amendment, it was not to make black people like a citizen of America. You know what I'm saying? I get it. Well, that's what because he about to say that. So, and we'll go into that on another time. I did it before when they was like questioned, but they didn't come on. But I'll do it again this time just for a Black history lesson, I guess.
If it wants to be what it claims to be, is going to have to treat all human beings with a fundamental, basic decency. And people say, well, if you're not a citizen, you can't be treated.
You said there is nothing, and I mean nothing more important to black people around the world than getting our resources in order. Yeah. Right, and one thing I need is not my resources going elsewhere, because a part of these immigrants that come over here is, you forgot, Ukrainian fools is getting your tax money too, and Natasha is gonna pull you over in about 5 years. You know what I'm saying?
Like citizens.
Yo, what's going on,
That's
Consider?
simply
Now, I'm playing. This is the end of this first part, Consider. I was playing because they're sitting here talking about the Democrats. He's saying immigration is not a problem. I can't play it over because I don't got the timestamps, but I appreciate you for coming through, Consider.
basic decency. And people say, well, if you're not a citizen, you can't be treated like citizens. That's simply not true. When you read the 14th Amendment, Section 1, the Privileges and Immunity Clause, it says that, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. They made up substantive due process in the slaughterhouse cases. That's a story for another day. This is judge-made law. And if you read what Ketanji Brown Jackson has been saying in her short time on the bench, she's committed to this rereading that will be true to the nature of those Reconstruction Amendments, which is, as far as black people are concerned, when the United States begins as a constitutional enterprise. It's not.
Now, see, he just said, he was like, this one, the United States begin for black people is no beginning. The beginning was like that, the beginning when they was like killing us for it. You know what I'm saying? It's still the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, but like he just mentioned the damn slaughterhouse cases, and I think he's about to mention it. I don't know here, but how, and I'll ask y'all, who do you think sued more under the 14th Amendment, corporations or black people? Right, they're supposed to be for black people, but who you think they made a person? A corporation is considered a person. You know what I'm saying? That's why you could do things under your like business and operate like a person, because the 14th Amendment helped corporations. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if you they call it, they said it gutted the 14th Amendment. You know what I'm saying? But come on, like, they sit there and told you, yeah, the Constitution was never meant for these niggas. The only time we was talking about them, we was like, yeah, 3/5 are human, because we don't want to pay. We want tax money from the South. The South don't want to pay tax money,
George Washington and them, it's in the smoke of the Civil War. I'm raising this for a reason. The 14th Amendment, if you are living in a state, the original interpretation of the 14th Amendment and the legislative debate over the 14th Amendment meant to ensure that you as a person had fundamental rights. Your citizenship didn't matter. It talks about citizenship in the previous sentence. But again, I don't want to get too far into this. This is where I want to come to, because I agree with what Lauren has said. Everybody should receive social services. Everyone should receive health care. Everyone. The Democratic Party has betrayed its ostensible founding principles when it says that it's going to look more and more like this corporate Republican Party, which brings me to the point that the expiration of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, a lot of those provisions are going to expire in 2025. This is stuff that Trump and them pushed through with Brennan, Tim, mission accomplished, Gerber, baby, Bucktooth, whatever, Mushmouth, Scott standing behind him with Paul Ryan and them in the Rose Garden as they gave away stuff.
See, I wish I could skip the right part.
When those provisions expire in 2025, the Brookings Institution released a report late last year that said at least $3.5 trillion can be generated in revenue by reforming the tax code in 2025. Again, why this election is important. Biden and them been pushing for this. If you simply restore the corporate tax rate to 28%, and this goes back to the gladiator invader of Grenada, right?
Yeah, they could do that, but instead they raise our damn taxes. You know what I'm saying? And they raise the taxes of like, oh, the property tax, sales tax. You know, so every time I know, even if you'd be like, I don't pay my tax, you do every time you go to the store. You know what I'm saying? They're still taking your tax money. You feel me? And they could do that, but they're also getting paid by the same fools. You know what I'm saying? Like, but anyway.
Ron Reagan and Bush and everybody else, and then Barack Obama and them too scared to deal with it, and then here come Trump and them giving the store away. If you simply restore the corporate tax rate to 28%, that raises $1.3 trillion over the next 10 years. And guess what? Those dollars can now can be used in part to put a floor under everybody.
Now, oh man, I wish I had the part, because the brother, I'm gonna try to find
black people who are citizens of this country and immigrants from other places playing oppression Olympics. That only serves the billionaires and these poor white people using the N-word, shooting through increasingly fewer teeth in their mouth because they have no health care. This is a game where conflict like that only supports the rich, and those are the ones who are gaming the system. If the Democrats are too scared to take that position, then damn it, at the state and local level, people have to make another set of choices. But this is not.
Wait, so he didn't cape for the Democrats for like 45 minutes to come to the end and say, if they don't do like what he just said, like they haven't been doing, because like, yeah, they get paid by corporate tax dollars and all of that stuff. Then now you got to have a decision when you come to the thing, should you vote for him or not? So he did all of that for nothing.
Going to be resolved. If it's not going to be resolved peacefully, it's going to be conflict in this country. But there's enough for everybody if this country is committed to that. We know it's not now, but we have to be the ones to say stop. We can make sure that it is.
This is very
all right. Let me see. Yeah, we was never considered citizens of the United States. And notice that all of their laws say persons, you know what I'm saying? Persons shall something, you know what I'm saying? But when it mentioned you, they specifically said you are not that. And show me where they got overturned out, you know, because he just broke down, or even though he left most of it out, why the 14th Amendment that they used and the 13th Amendment, which y'all seen the documentary 13th, but also involuntary servitude. So all we got to do is make you volunteer, you know. But anyway, yo, so he's trying to make it seem like the Democrats are right for black people, because neither party is. Yeah, it kind of seemed like that. Yeah, we was never considered humans to them, but that's called projection, because, you know, yeah, yeah, lift everybody up. He's still trying to convince black. Yeah, and I do think that I don't know. I'm not gonna say that, you know. I think that's it, because I could play more, but I can't do that. But I have to show y'all this one part again.
Nativism. So what the Democrats can do,
then I wish I had it.
Behind this Israel-Palestine business, that either you're going to come up out of that soft white nationalism and attack them, or you're going to continue to whistle past the graveyard.
No,
white nationalists worked in the Civil War. The nation is a problem. That is the framing.
Oh, that is maybe it's right here.
Nation is a problem. That is the framing. That is a lie. That is incorrect. We, of course, are the largest population of forced immigrants in this country, having been brought here against our will.
Now, y'all tell me. I wanted to play that for y'all, because I don't know if that's right or wrong. Forced immigrants, I just call it like kidnapping. Is that right or wrong? He said we was the largest group of forced immigrants, and then he, you know. But like I said, y'all could go back and watch the other part. And you know, of course, soft white nationalism versus whatever. Now, I'm going to play this part, and this is, like I said, this is kind of long, but I'm going to skip through it, right? And if y'all want to hear more, y'all let me know, or y'all could go watch it yourself too, you know. But I will say this, you know, I don't agree with what either one be saying. Now, this brother's channel here, they say like capitalism on that channel like 124 times, like every live, no matter what they talking about, you know what I'm saying? As a black people, not supposed to put our money into everything that we got right now and do all of that. And they are on that people of color. Both sides is on that people of color nonsense. You know what I'm saying? But this was like interesting, right? Because I want to just go through this, right? So I'm not on anybody's side, but like I guess for the first time I agree with the other brother here. Now these is two professors at HBCUs, keep in mind, you know what I'm saying? Like, and this is not against all teachers at HBCUs or against HBCUs. I'm just saying these are two professors at this. He's a professor at Howard, and this is the brother who's talking. Like I said, Dr. Carr led a team of academics and educators in the design of the curriculum framework for Philadelphia's mandatory high school African American history course. Right, and there's some things I disagree with how he created his curriculum, and he played a role in creating, like, not saying that everybody, you know what I'm saying, like different teachers do different things, you know, but with college courses and stuff like that. And I disagree with how both of these brothers frame the history. I don't know. Well, I would say this brother. The militant integrationist. Yo, my brother Anthony, you right on time, my brother. You right on time. These two debated each other, right? Does voting matter? Right? Because he was calling them out on this. Yeah, they're talking there because earlier you missed it, considering he was saying if anybody, we should be cheering on the Mexicans, and then he brought up something from like 1830, but then we saw like what happened to the first black president in 1830 and how because he was black, like, you know what I'm saying, they killed him. You know, they ran him out of office because he wanted to do away with the caste system. But anyway, Vincent Guerrero is the first black president, the first and last with African descent, and he was like a mixed person, you know. But anyway, check this out, right?
But yeah, I'll stop for now, and then maybe we can just, you know.
That's what I'm saying. He knows history probably better than I do. You know what I'm saying? I can't compete with him on ancient. Only probably Anthony would crush him. I would put my money on Anthony if they went against each other. But in the last like 700 years, you know what I'm saying, I can definitely hold my own in that, you know.
But the short answer is yes, and a little bit longer answer is.
All right, so does voting matter, right? So that's what he's saying. My bad.
But the short answer is yes, and a little bit longer answer is, and depends on the context how you use that tool in the box. I don't think we should leave any tool when we're trying to engage.
Voting is a tool.
Right now, okay.
Dr. Paul. So, yeah, no. So again, so on that point, I agree that voting is or can be important as a tool, but I just don't think it is as we do it. It's not. We're not using it properly. So I just want to be clear. You know, so my points are basically these. You know, and this is something I was trying to address with you, Dr. Carr, at the time of that election, during the last election, that. In response primarily to an exchange you were having on Twitter, that's where it started for me. So which sort of
yo, and by the way, Anthony, why did they and what happened to him, and why did they kill him?
Evolved into hostility and into just you know, shade, and it was just a standard social media exchange that was, I thought, useless. So the point I was trying to make, the points I'm trying to make are that, like, so like the late Yale Law School professor Samuel Moyne wrote a little while ago. I thought it was a compelling argument for why the Supreme Court, and I think by extension the federal benches, have historically not done much at all and have been given undue credit for what little has been done, specifically around Brown v. Board, in advancing the rights of any so-called oppressed minority, Black people, LGBTQ, and others. And that for the most part, what actually made.
Well, no, hold on. Some presidents have done stuff for LGBTQ and others, just not our Black compasses. I'm not sure. I can't. You know.
What actually enforced Brown v. Board was Congress, and part of Moyne's point was that. Not only does the Supreme Court not do much, not only does the federal bench not do much to help these oppressed communities, but by ceding all of this power over to judges appointed, some for life, society gives over its claim to democracy, that we give over the right.
Now, both of these go on and on and on, but so I'm gonna skip through it. I just don't have timestamps, so y'all forgive me.
Legislate and rule ourselves by just passing something over to a tiny a group of unassailable and a permanent judiciary. So then the other thing is that that from the perspective of radical movements, voting has never been seen as a central feature by any of the ones that I think we will hold up dearly. Some have engaged electoral politics, but voting was never the primary focus for bringing about real change in the society, not for any of the luminaries we point to or the organizations out of which they come. And then lastly, what my primary issue was not necessarily to debate with you these specifics, but more to have you teach us and make an actual argument, as opposed to the devolved argument you had on social media, or as I showed on my show recently when you were on Roland Martin, and you just basically said, you actually said to people who say if you say don't vote, if voting isn't important, then you should shut up. Mm-hmm. And my response is that as a master teacher, which you are, and any of us who have known you and know you at all, and I've known you for years, we know you're a master teacher. So when you, and I just wrote this down here, when you chastise righteously angry Black people by telling them to shut up and by denying them your expertise on these histories and movements of other more powerful and meaningful ways to impose change, you sound too much like your Roland Martin colleague, Michael Cord, who called Black people refusing to vote for Biden in the last election traitors, or like Biden himself, who had the audacity to suggest that a refusal to vote for him meant that you were not Black at all. So it seems like you're more angry at those of us on the left than you are of even Black capitalists or the phony elected officials that they support.
I told you, they say capitalists on this show like 137 times, no matter what the topic is. Like let it go, bro.
Who do nothing and cause the
I didn't even say something Black.
This anger that doesn't generate votes for them.
But he did create a Black, he did something that I aspire to do. You know what I'm saying? So I can't hate on him for that. You know what I'm saying? Like he helped create a Black curriculum, and he knows a lot of Black history. He knows the history. Like he probably, like I said, he probably know it better than I do. It's just the details that he leaves out. That's what makes it look, you know what I'm saying, questionable. You know what I'm saying?
Forward. So that was really my major concern, that I feel like your expertise and your genius is not being properly applied in these spaces.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm surprised that anybody who watches Black Power Media watches Roland Martin. Y'all watching Roland? So I'm you know, I wasn't talking to you, right?
That's my point. You're talking to a huge audience of Black people who deserve to learn about these traditions and histories, to be told to shut up if they have a critique.
I think if that, and that's interesting. Yeah. So, you know, I think about something. I was talking with Abdullah Kelamat the other day. We actually taped a conversation for this new thing I'm doing for Roland's network, Black Star Network.
But Greg Carr said, did you know the white dudes in the Alamo had slaves? Did you know the damn Mexicans had slaves too? All right. Like he does though. He knows that, but a lot of us don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, and why they killed that first Black president in the same time that he mentioned. So he know about it because he mentioned it and left that out about Vincent Guerrero. You know what I'm saying? Because he wanted to make Black people equal. You know what I'm saying? Like, they get every right like everybody else. Slavery abolished. He abolished slavery and they killed them. You know,
the Black table, and he just Abdul just did a book, Dialectics of Liberation, on the African Liberation Support Committee.
Now listen,
he's one of the founders, and he's very good. And one of the things he quotes Lenin. Lenin.
Now listen, he goes on for a long time and never actually addresses what he says. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna skip through it, y'all.
Here on Expanded Scott, when Roger Taney basically invents two forms of citizenship in the country and citizenship in whatever state you're born in, and says Dred Scott, because he's Black, has no rights that apply from the federal context or the state context. That's why they had to have the 14th Amendment. And of course, we know the 14th Amendment hasn't really stood the test of time because the courts have ignored the intent of the framers of the 14th Amendment.
So he knows that you ain't he already knows you ain't a citizen, right? He knows that, you know what I'm saying? Like, and by the way, if your treatment for like 400 years haven't shown you, that was enough for me. I ain't really have to learn the history. The history is good to know. I'm just like, how could you do a citizen that way? You know what I'm saying? Because you ain't human to them, you know?
Married and all those people. And I guess when Moyne says that the courts have no influence, he knows better than that. The man is on a law school faculty. He's a professor of history at Yale, and he's also a professor of jurisprudence. Now I teach at law school, and I'll bristle at that because I know what happens when people like that make these broad statements to people who don't understand how the law works, and particularly when a white man makes that statement, knowing that the Congress.
No, he was saying like him telling people to shut up, and he's been going for like this is 5 minutes here, and he never like actually addressed that point.
We had this two-party system, which we know is eroding, but Moyne is. That's absurd, and we can talk about why it's absurd, even in much more detail than I've said.
By the way, you know, the point of information and knowledge and communication is so that we can know and not to like say stuff in a vague way. You know what I'm saying? That's why, like, if you talk direct to people to where they can understand, that's like smarter than saying like some crazy deep stuff. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got to be like, yo, the political. I just be like, yeah, they don't like you. You know what I'm saying? Like, based on history, you know what I'm saying? The circumstances have shown that 72% of the time they have like hung a black person. Yo, they don't like you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get that, you know?
So my point isn't to defend Moyne or certainly to defend the system or to argue for some sort of integration electorally or otherwise. My simple point was that Moyne was a Yale law professor making an argument that's.
I wish I had timestamps. I'm sorry, y'all.
Tell them to shut up, call them treacherous. Derek Bell had noted in his own lifetime, we're more segregated today than ever.
That's right.
So again, to his point, the fact of the federal support and the judges' support and the passing of the legislation didn't do anything, and certainly didn't.
Now, so you know how they be like, oh, well, the Republicans get in, they're going to have this Supreme Court. Now, if we all can look at the Supreme Court justices that they appoint, you know what I'm saying, and their record, you know what I'm saying, and their spousal choices, you know what I'm saying, a lot of things, you know, but they be like, if Trump gets in, then oh Lord, it's going to be white supremacy. I get, but he also did say Joe Biden is soft white supremacy, so I'm not sure what this means.
To the kinds of change that we want and deserve. So that's one thing. The other thing, so my premise in borrowing from Moyne is that they're really described as saying we shouldn't vote, but specifically those in spaces like myself and the other brothers that were involved in that debate online, it symbolically carries this weight of I am going to stand guard against anything radically left of me. And I'm going to demean them and chastise them instead of laying out the context as you've just done in a certain way so far to say, okay, yes, we may disagree, but I can at least recognize the political traditions and lineages that you all are referring to and out of which you are coming. And there's a logic to it. Now, let me explain why in this time, I don't think it is of value. That I think would be much more, much more of value to all of us than that kind of hostile stance that conservatives take against us all the time.
Can I ask you, where do you see us disagreeing so far? Because everything you said so far, I agree with.
Again, that was my point. The only thing I said where we disagree is in your public castigation of those who would argue against voting for Democratic Party. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it needs, because when you come with that level of causticity and hostility, it doesn't bring us anywhere.
I got you. So again, I would just encourage folks to, if anybody's going to hear me talk through a thing, and God knows, especially since COVID, that's all we've been doing is looking at these computers and talking. I would encourage them to look beyond a 30-second or a minute or 2 minute, even in that context, whatever that was in that context, to look beyond that to the larger scope of what I was saying, even in any of those contexts. But the other thing though is, let me just so I'm clear, because again, thinking about Moyne, these elite, and I have said this, and I think this probably for me, I think would probably be closer.
He goes on and on without actually addressing any of
quote-unquote left. Although one of the things is there really is no black left, right? Or am I overstating that?
See, he just like straight deflected like crazy.
Us,
but
none of the three of us, anybody listening, end up like brother Ahmed Obafemi, who did a bid, or anybody.
Bro, why is you on Roland Martin talking about immigration ain't a problem?
Get your cousin on principles and be petty. or a judge who's going to give them a diversion
All right,
program
here we
and
go.
one of the
Let me see. Maybe he finally started kind of talking a little bit about it.
administrative judges. I'm talking about tax court. I'm talking about all those things that really our people run up against every day. Now, does it matter whether a Democrat or Republican appoints judges to the bench? It absolutely does. All you have to do is look at the judicial decision making. Look at the leeway. Look at the thing. If you want a better chance, now you're gonna get screwed by the system. This is why I say we agree on that. We absolutely agree on that. When you start talking
Get the
about
soft
the
white
little
nationalism.
things, I mean, do you want a judge who's going to order 10 days in the workhouse and $5 restitution and humiliate your cousin on principles and be petty? Or a judge who's going to give them a diversion program and a warning to get their life together? If you want somebody on the bench who's going to do that second thing, you're not going to vote for the white nationalist party because they are looking to straight up.
Wait, hold on. Which one is the white nationalist party?
Hang our asses. Now, are the Democrats any better? Absolutely on that. Are they much better? We can have a conversation on that. But if one of us standing before that judge, I think the conversation would be a lot different. This is what I'm thinking. Anyway.
So a couple of things. So I'm not when I'm referring to your public performance, I'm not talking about the clips on Roland Martin. I'm speaking in particular to the social media exchange you and I had with a number of other people on Twitter. That was condescending, disrespectful. I thought it was totally useless. So, and my point in that is that so that's one thing. The other thing is I'm not advocating that we vote for Republicans. I'm simply, and in fact, I'm advocating that we become Malcolm X voters, form blocks, run our own campaigns, candidates, et cetera, so forth and so on. That's a whole other discussion. But my real, because you know,
it's part of this discussion. We should have that discussion.
Well, but I want to be clear that what my issue with what.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And no offense to Professor Dr. Greg Carr, you know what I'm saying? The brother, like I said, he has a team of academics and educators designed the curriculum framework for Philadelphia's mandatory African American history course, and he knows history. It's just that, and I definitely disagree with them teaching history through certain lenses because, and he does it too. The other dude do the same thing. I agree with him on this one in particular, but that's probably it, you know.
But you have said it's not because I'm advocating that we vote for Republicans. It's simply saying that those of us who would not vote for Joe Biden should not be demeaned
too evil. Yeah,
as if we have no logic to our argument.
Well, what's so that would be one logic for that?
So hold on.
Okay, my bad.
So the other thing is So extending from that, I don't know. You set up a series of questions based on individual people appearing before a judge and what would we want versus what we wouldn't want. And obviously the answers are easy there, but I'm starting from a premise of the overall material condition of Black people in this country, which continues to devolve. The surveillance, prison rates, parole rates, probation rates, joblessness, inequality in wealth and income, violence by police, all of these material indicators, access to health care, prolonged unemployment, all of these indicators keep trending in worse and worse and worse devolving directions. And by the way,
hopefully
these individual examples that you are pointing to are largely straw for me in the sense that they're not what impact the collective. That's what I'm most interested in. So of course, on those individual examples, you would have that. But even in our social media exchange, you actually were more detailed in your examples, suggesting that political prisoners would want to come up in front of a federal judge, and that's why we should vote for Biden in the idea that he would appoint federal judges that would be more favorable to political prisoners, which I have never heard anyone advocate or argue. And in fact, I quickly, the very next day, did an interview with Daruba bin Wahad and asked him that specific.
All right, so that's a damn question.
So then. So I would think that you have to. I would expect and hope that, and would love to see where you could point to evidence that suggests that over time, voting for these getting democratically appointed federal judges has materially improved the conditions of the collective of Black people, which, as I've said, data continues to show gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And then, very lastly, in terms of this question,
no.
All right, so he asked him the question, how has Democratic judges helped black people?
The basic, but we got to go down to the basic thing. Why do they go if it's
Well, you know what? Here's which is I've said data continues. This question.
Damn, my bad.
And in part, we are inhibited by those who.
Couple of things. Why do political prisoners go to court, Jared? I'm asking. What? Could you hear me? I'm sorry, Zeno.
I mean, come on now. I mean,
No. It seems like we got to go to basic. We got to go down to the basic thing. Why do they go if it's you?
Well, you know what?
Why do black people go to court? Because Democratic, because Joe Biden made a law that was like, yo, let's get these super predators off the street.
I'll tell you what, and I'll paraphrase the
Republicans did too, by the way.
Response. He would argue that a lot of times people go to court.
Court. There's no question about it. And in fact,
I'm just saying. I
watched y'all had a conversation. I watched you, Todd, Lynn Washington, going back through the trial record of Mumia. And that was just before I came to Philly. So I've been out them streets many times with Mama Pam Africa and everybody else going with me.
They didn't even answer the question.
In education, and in there, my father went and got Z. Alexander Luby, Nashville's best known black civil rights attorney, and got it thrown out of court. But that's post Shelley versus Kramer. That is an absolute law that comes out. In fact, a predecessor of that is the Chicago case, Hansberry versus Lee. When we see Raising in the Sun. That whole conversation about moving into a white neighborhood, Lorraine Hansberry's father.
By the way, Democrats back then, they would be like, was the Republicans of today, the time that he's talking about. And they had the party switch. So I don't know why he went like talking about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the parties had switched. Well, that's what they would use today when they be like, Democrats is the slave party, which is not true because America is, or the KKK, because all of them are like KKK. Now, it's not a Democrat or Republican thing. It's American culture, white American culture. It's the KKK. It's like, that's why you see all of them do the same stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that is not true when people say that the Democrats is the KKK and all of that stuff. They all are. You know what I'm saying? But he's talking about a time where the Democrats was considered the Republicans and stuff. I don't know why he's
the plaintiff in Hansberry versus Lee. By the way, we know that's William Leo Hansberry's niece. That was Hansberry's brother, William Leo Hansberry. That is a concrete right. change in the material condition.
And we get killed in both of them, Anthony. That's the crazy part.
Now, let's be clear though, in terms of that ain't no panacea, because guess who that helped the most? We know in housing, in employment discrimination, in education, in voting rights. The major critique is that all of those changes in laws help the black petty bourgeoisie more than the masses. Absolutely. I'm not defending. In other words, this isn't a panacea or a be-all and end-all, but the simple fact of the matter is, by the way,
so a lot of those laws and stuff, they said it helped the black bourgeoisie, you know what I'm saying? It helped them, but put the rest of us under the bus, you know what I'm saying? When they was making a lot of these deals.
What's the sister's name at Morgan? Who's got the Title VII case? My friend Addison Francois defended her. I saw y'all had him on the show. He used to teach at Howard Law before he went
Leah Hollis.
Barry Sanders, like crazy.
Right. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is going before a judge. And gender is they have 3 levels of scrutiny when you start talking about discrimination. The basic level of scrutiny means basically the state ain't got to show you shit. Strict scrutiny, that's race, and that's where John Roberts.
Now, if I wish I had it pulled up, I would play like Michael Jackson, the Dancing Machine, the one he did the robot in. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna run out of Boston on us at the Supreme Court at this point, and it's gonna get a lot worse before it gets better. One of the cases
it's halfway over.
Affirmative action probably in the next 6 months.
And by the way, they did take affirmative action out, but guess who benefits the most from affirmative action? You know what I'm saying? And by the way, now that Maria and all of them is getting jobs, and let's not forget the Ukrainians that's getting jobs, and let's not forget the shysters that's getting jobs and money and resources. Let's not forget, you know what I'm saying, all of these groups in different countries, you know what I'm saying, and ironically, not really the black immigrants. They get like beat at the border under Joe Biden. You know what I'm saying? The Haitians got whipped at the border, if y'all remember, and the president got shot in his bed while he was asleep with his family under Joe Biden. You know,
employment discrimination, in education, in voting rights. The major critique is that all of those changes in laws help the black petty bourgeoisie more than the masses. Absolutely. I'm not defending. In other words, this isn't a panacea or a be all and end all, but the simple fact of the matter is, by the way, parenthetically, what's the sister's name at Morgan, who's got the Title VII case? My friend Addison Francois is defending her. I saw y'all had him on the show.
Bro, which judges help black people? What laws and other? That's what he asked him. Which judges help black people? You know what I'm saying? He's talking about Roe v. Plessy versus Ferguson and all that. So what are you talking about?
He used to teach at Howard Law before he went
Leah
to
Hollis?
Yes.
Dr. Hollis?
Because he's smart as hell. He knows so much
Title
history.
VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is going before a judge, and gender is they have.
Oh yeah, remember I told you that because a lot of times it's going for a judge to see if the Indians, the Asian-looking Indians, could get the right to vote in American citizenship, even though that they got like the reservations or whatever they stabbed you in the back to get. You know what I'm saying? They also now want to get. They like, oh, they want to be able to sue under the civil rights and all of that stuff because like they stabbed you in the back and took whatever they took. So I guess they ain't considered citizens either. And when they say like the Voters' Right Act, if they try to be like, oh yeah, they're coming after that, is really like talking about do Indians apply? You know what I'm saying?
You have 3 levels of scrutiny when you start talking about discrimination. The basic level of scrutiny means basically the state ain't got to show you shit. Strict scrutiny, that's race. And that's where John Roberts and them are running a Boston on us at the Supreme Court at this point. And it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. One of the cases that they're going to knock the teeth out of affirmative action probably in the next 6 months. They've taken that case, the Harvard case. But in between is what they call intermediate level of scrutiny. When a woman goes before.
Hold on. And with the black judges up there, they did away with affirmative action too, by the way.
The federal bench on these issues. It's really going to depend on whether she takes a jury trial or a judge trial, if it's a judge or not. Even the instructions the judge gives to the jury.
All right, so y'all get the point of what he was doing the whole time.
The masses of the people. Yes. In fact, no. Let's go to the Italians and the French. What's Antonio Negri and them guys? When they talk about multitudes. In other words, we choose to be in communities. We choose to be in community. I was just talking to Howard French about that. You know, it's Born in Blackness. This whole notion of when we call ourselves African people, that's not a declaration that comes with a common lens and a common set. That's something we have to work toward and work at. So when I say that somebody is worried about getting evicted, or somebody's worried about a different sentence and worried about not getting diversion, or somebody's worried about anything before a judge, that person is an individual, but they do represent a class of people who are suffering under those same conditions. And when that class of people decide to get together and become something other than just a group of people to which this applies, that's the organizing work we have to do.
Okay, so a couple of things. So one, if
we're going to move on right after this, this point.
But if more people did what Du Bois did then, maybe we wouldn't be where we are now.
Yeah, and you don't have to teach history through the eyes of W.E. Du Bois. You could teach about W.E. Du Bois. You shouldn't teach through the eyes of anybody. You know what I'm saying? You should teach the truth and, like, you know what I'm saying, let them whatever. And then even in the second semester or third, once they get a grasp of real Black history where they can make their own choices, then you can present this, you know what I'm saying? But they teach Black history, well, a lot of people in certain positions teach Black history through this, like, that's why they come back talking about this capitalism stuff 1,000 times a day. Like, dude, like you trickle down, who's at the bottom of the trickle? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care what kind of society you got. If it ain't yours, who's at the bottom of the damn trickle? You know what I'm saying? But anyway.
Now, if more people would stop accepting all of these, again, social invitation, social capital, all of the actual investment that comes from the Democratic Party filtering down through all this Black commercial press that encourages all of this return to the Democrat. If more people did not do that, if more people in your position, if more of the luminaries on whatever brand of the left we have would stop not only encouraging and voting for these Democrats, but again, castigating those of us who would want to raise other alternatives, then maybe what Du Bois did would have been the spark of an actual revolutionary change, as opposed to a one-off correct, I think, decision that he was making. In general, I think your argument also throughout this so far this evening devalues the role of unsanctioned organized rebelliousness even sometimes disorganized rebelliousness. So all of the advances, so-called, that you've described, all of them have been led by, they weren't led by the federal government making changes. But Dr. Carr,
what are we talking about?
Or, you're walking away from the battle and all this other stuff without laying out, I think, even as much as you've done tonight, your actual argument. I think it's not only anti-historical, but it really does us a disservice. Again, we don't.
I would tell you, any person who'd be like, yo, I know history, I teach history, and somebody be like, yo, you don't know history, like that's like a trigger. So he kind of got triggered. That's why he set up like that.
I'm not even here trying to win against you some argument. I'm really trying to implore you to do better at making your own argument without being so dismissive of all these beautiful radical traditions that have actually led to the change that has occurred, that has not come from the federal judges and courts and elite politicians.
I keep trying to understand where I did that. Just give.
Well, I quoted it. I quoted you on the Roland Martin show, telling people to.
He was like, "Shut up and dribble." He was like, "Yeah, I quoted you." You said, "Shut up and dribble."
I quoted you on the Roland Martin show, telling people to shut up. But Dr. Carr,
what are we talking about? What were we talking about that night? I don't even remember.
You were talking about Biden deciding which black woman he was going to select for SCOTUS.
Okay.
But my point is that statement has been consistent with your approach.
I disagree with
again in the direct exchange with me, which I still have saved, bookmarked.
And we are integrationists.
But that's even my point. But that's exactly my point. When you come out there and be so disrespectful and so
we gonna move it along.
Harold Cruz talked about in his book Crisis of the Negro Intellectual. Yeah.
A little bit. We're gonna move it along a little bit. Because we're clear about both positions on
I don't see what we disagreeing on yet. I still haven't heard how I undermine the radical agenda. I understand the radical
by not talking about it. By not highlighting it in your argument as to why. I said this in my opening
statement. I'm about to pull again.
Particularly skipping things.
The refusal to vote for him was to role as master teacher goes unfulfilled.
Oh yeah,
when you chastise.
I said talk about his master teacher role.
I'm about to pull the gavel out in a minute.
But I'm sorry, I will stop and say I just want to be very clear. But because Dr. Carr, you're saying you're not clear. I want to say exactly what I said from the beginning. That most importantly, I wrote it down. Most importantly, your role as master teacher goes unfulfilled when you chastise righteously angry black people by telling them to shut up and by denying them your expertise on these histories and movements of other more powerful and meaningful ways to impose change.
Like
you sound too much like your Roland Martin colleague, Michael Cord, who called black people refusing to vote for Biden traitors, or like Biden himself, who had the audacity to suggest the refusal to vote for him was to not be black at all. You sound more angry at us than you do with the black capitalists who are creating this problem. That's what I said.
This fool talking about the black capitalists.
I can't claim that, brother. And I got to defend my man, Mike Cord. You know, Mike Cord is a defense attorney in Philly. He goes to that court every day. And so and Mike is a lot sharp tongue. I wouldn't agree with Mike on using that kind of rhetoric. I wouldn't say that at all. But when I'm saying
Professor Mike, Dr. Greg Carr didn't answer anything yet
of the white nationalists if they get in power. He's a defense attorney to first degree. You can ask Pam African about Mike Cord and probably some people watching tonight. But yeah, if I sound like Mike Cord, I would see. I'm a lot more conciliatory. Anyway, I'm sorry, Kalanji. We can go on, brother. I didn't start
and he's probably read all of these books. Because he has hella knowledge, you know what I'm saying? Hella knowledge. And he knows specifically what to say and what to leave out. And that's a problem, you know what I'm saying? And like, I just disagree with the way that his course is, you know what I'm saying? But like, I vehemently, I can't say that. So I disagree with him hard, you know what I'm saying?
Started talking again. Let's go. Let's keep going.
It's all good. I expected y'all. You know that's why. And I see I'm in reverse. I'm the one with the button down on. I'm at the
unity without uniformity.
What are the thoughts? What are your thoughts on building a third party?
All right. So,
I think it's a by party. When you've got an agenda and say, here's the black report card. I don't care whether you're as I said, the critique of legal reform is that it benefits the petty bourgeois more. I mean, in fact, Gerald writes about this all the time. Gerald Horn, Carol Anderson, I'm in full agreement with them when they say that the Brown era strategies, which have their roots, by the way, in the 30s. And when you read Harold Cruz and all them cats, you're seeing that what they're really trying to craft in this country is a back petty bourgeoisie to be a buffer. But what we see is even the revolutionaries are either in that black petty bourgeoisie.
There's always been a class of black people who would be like, yo, I would take that money and that comfortable life, you know what I'm saying, to play what we people call the buffer class, you know what I'm saying? And there will always be people willing to sell out. And he, like I said, he knows the history of all of these things. And about the Democrats, he could break it down better than probably anybody. And the fact that he says that, that's what makes people wonder why, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, like, I don't know, diametrically opposed, yeah.
Or adjacent to it. So even if you say William Patterson, even if you say Charles Hampton Houston, even if you say A. Philip Randolph, or even if you say somebody like I don't know, Polly Murray or Anna Arnold Hedgeman, or any of them, they still in that class. They're not outdoors in the street. I mean, they're not outdoors and homeless and trying to struggle and figure out where they're gonna get their next meals. Those arguments end up in a position where we end up. I'll use Cedric Johnson, good brother, who writes a lot in Jacob.
Now he goes on, like, he just uses his knowledge of history to not answer
that. But to me, that might be the place where there's a disagreement, whether how we heighten the contradictions. Because I'll stop with that.
No, that's cool. Before I pass it to you, Jared, I want to ask Dr. Carr, you said you had voted for Biden, so I wanted to know your thoughts behind that, because we knew he had his track record's like 50 years of hell, basically.
No question.
He was like, what did he say? He was like, I don't want them around my kids. I should have played that one. I guess I will play at the end. That should be the final. But I agree with them. I don't want my mom and his crackhead son. Or, I don't want my family and my friends and my loved ones around his crackhead son. You know what I'm saying? He's like, we can't rehabilitate them. We just have to put them away, and then we could talk about it. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the things.
And you said what you said in regards to the third party. So I just being curious.
By the way, that means Greg Carr is black, y'all. Because if he hadn't have blown it, like, we not black because we didn't vote for Joe, or I didn't vote for Joe Biden, so I'm not black. But Greg Carr is officially black because he voted for Joe Biden.
What led you to the Biden camp? I mean,
I'm not in the Biden camp.
No, I mean, but encouraging folks during that particular moment.
Well, I mean, it's very simple. I mean, and people will say, well, people say vote for the Democrats because they're not Trump. To me, it's very simple. If you are concerned about suffering, let's say we're concerned, we're definitely concerned about the immigration issue. We're concerned about immigrants from anywhere. I don't care.
Wait, didn't he just say on this one? Wait. This is not about, I'm just, don't take it the wrong way either, but I'm just saying.
Last year, which was an increase from the previous year for the last 50 years. And so then what I'm going to do is,
as perhaps the enslaved Africans in the Alamo Fort.
Well, he said, y'all remember what he said. He said, immigration is not a problem.
What their background is. Now, I start with African people, of course. We have to do that. But if you are a Haitian who gets flown back to Port-au-Prince, and you haven't been there since the 2010 earthquake because you left after that and went to work in Brazil.
And the fact that he's a teacher at an HBCU, and not saying that he shouldn't be a teacher because he has that much knowledge about Black history. It's just that you have this much knowledge and not a lot of people do, and you can't just like I'm not saying that he does it to get paid. I'm just saying I'm pretty sure he get paid to go on Roland Martin's show or something. But like, why would you do that if you know better and you you say historical things and these specific important details out of it? You know what I'm saying? To where if you look it up, like like they do with their talking points when they be like, oh yeah, the Civil Rights Bill or the Voters' Rights Act. It's not about you. They just say that because, you know, originally that was about black people. But as he even just mentioned, the 14th Amendment doesn't make you a damn citizen, because he knows that. He knows he ain't I ain't gonna say he doesn't know he's not a citizen. I'm just saying, because he might believe that he is, but I would be diametrically opposed to that too. Yeah.
The World Cup, whatever, and then the Trump of Brazil, Bolsonaro, put your ass out, and you end up having to come all the way up through Central America, and you at the Texas border, and they put you. The Biden administration did that. We have to rain fire on the Biden administration. Wait, Joe Biden ain't no hero. Joe Biden is not a hero. You understand? Joe Biden is not a panacea. Kamala Harris is not a panacea. Now, if the alternative is the Goebbels, who they had in there, Stephen Miller, with that idiot Trump, and then you have the guy who they had to put out because it was bad for the commercial white-facing media, Steve Bannon, who has not only not stopped working, but you can see his fingerprints on everything. The elections in France, what's going on the border with Ukraine and Russia, all that propaganda. I'm going to say, and here's where I think critique of me, and I don't even like to use the word proper. I think it's always good to have a conversation and try to help us. We all trying to get to the same place. And I think perhaps there's a vulnerability there for me to say, I would prefer to struggle. I would prefer to have better enemies in the White House. Better enemy for me is Biden.
Enemies? Better
enemy for me.
Yo, what does that mean? A better enemy for me is Joe Biden. A better enemy? I'm not saying the lesser of two evils. I'm saying a better enemy. What? A better? It's the same, but a better enemy? What does that mean?
I would prefer to have better enemies in the White House. Better enemy for me is Biden. Better enemy for me is Harris. If people say a better enemy for them is Trump, a better enemy for them is the Federalist Society, a better enemy for them is stealing 2 Supreme Court seats outright, really 3 if you see the Trump shouldn't have been there in the first place. Then
Trump and Biden is different enemies. Like, and that's when Republicans be like, oh yeah, they bring up Joe Biden's crime bill, you know what I'm saying? But they leave out that Trump was like, oh, Joe Biden isn't hard enough on them, you know what I'm saying? Trump was like, I wanted that to be even more harsher, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was like, Joe Biden's too soft on crime, Donald Trump do. Like, so even when the Republicans mentioned Joe Biden crime bill, like, Trump agreed with it, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you mean, like, he's a better enemy? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Hey, let's have that conversation and walk through the particulars. I'm going to say I don't think so, but if that's the place we're talking, then let's have that conversation.
And I can't even keep track because, like, after like the first year, I named like 7 things like that had happened at that time. I can't even remember because so much stuff has happened since then. That just proves. Well, he did say happy birthday to George Floyd that one time. That's true. He did say he did like make Juneteenth a holiday, you know what I'm saying? And so now we can have cookouts across the nation on Juneteenth, you know what I'm saying? Thanks to Joe Biden. Some of the good things he did, I guess.
But for me, I say the better opponent in the White House is Biden and Harris. I'm not supporting Biden and Harris.
The better opponent is.
I'm saying they're a better opponent. I'll take the position Linda Sarsour takes, and I understand that Linda Sarsour ain't on the.
No, Anthony, you're gonna have to explain that one to me. I'm not gonna front. What does a better opponent mean? That don't even make sense.
But
it'd be easier
I
to
think
beat.
It's quite naive to think that rhetoric notwithstanding. And again, I'll go back to the 30s and 40s for the example. When you got William Patterson, Louise Thompson Patterson, when you got the Du Boises, when you got the Robesons, 1951, we charged genocide. These people are in the same circles as Ralph Bunche and Channing Tobias. They're in the same circles as Anna Arnold Hedgeman and A. Philip Randolph. Anybody who thinks they don't, I encourage them to go back and do a little bit more studying. And so when you see the state turn on William Patterson and them, turn on Du Bois and Robeson and them.
Now, I know sometimes I go on stuff about history and rant sometimes, but I think I'll be on topic. Maybe I don't. Maybe I do the same thing. But like, what?
These Negroes, whether it be Ralph Bunche or the rest of them, Tobias, like when they're in Paris at the peace conference or after the UN's founded and they're over there and they turn their backs on them, we have to have a detailed conversation about what are the implications of that ideologically, It's crystal clear. You've now split with them. But in terms of the tactics and politics, it's much more complicated than we tend to give it when we're in a circle talking about who's the good guys and bad guys. As John Henry Clark said, in some stories, it ain't no good guys. It's just that simple. He said, no, I'm not a Biden supporter. He's a better enemy, as far as I think, tactically. And I could be wrong. Yeah,
He could be wrong.
Cool. I appreciate that answer.
He's probably definitely wrong. Because, and by the way, you know, and the ignorant me said it, because, you know, that Facebook thing that pop up, like when I used to even post stuff on that stuff, I was like, oh yeah, like it's kind of good. I was like, when Donald Trump won, I was like, yeah, that's good, because like now people are real, like maybe they'll do something now, because like if Hillary Clinton had been president, y'all be even more comfortable, even though she just finished calling you super predators too. And you know that whole thing with they got going on, and Haiti exploiting that stuff. But that's
the ball. I want to ask you.
Yeah,
about
he's a historian.
Situation.
He knows more history than I do.
On,
he would crush me if we talking about like ancient African history. He would crush me on that. You know what I'm saying? And like he has his, and here Professor Professor Greg Carr has a Black History course on YouTube. Like he records his classes that he teaches in school. He has recorded his class that he teaches in school and puts it online for people. And he says a lot of history. It's just what I disagree is that he does it through this lens of people of color, and this other brother do too. He's a teacher at Morgan State. The brother who's president, the light-skinned dude who's pressing him, he's a teacher at Morgan State, HBCU. And he's on this people of color and, you know, free Palestine and, you know, capitalism. Like he would be more in line. He would side with like non-Black socialist Marxists than he would, in my opinion, than he would Black capitalists. You know what I'm saying? It's not Black first. It's like ideology first, you know?
Joey Biden.
So I don't know exactly what to do. I just think we need to engage voting to the extent we engage it in very different ways. So whether it's third parties, whether it's acting as a block within the Democratic Party, I'm somewhat agnostic about that as it relates specifically to the issue of electoral politics. But the problem is that I don't hear, Dr. Carr, you or many others in your similar political space
like
advocating that we engage the Dems differently. All I hear is that we engage them specifically because they're the lesser of evil.
He could look confused. He like they just put him and Roland Martin. This was a long time ago, but him and Roland Martin I just showed one day ago, and he's sitting there talking about illegal immigration is not a problem, and we should be siding with Mexico. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, my thing is he knows so much for him to say this, and not a lot of people know as much as he knows. Like, why would he say this? Don't do that. You know what I'm saying?
The problem is that I don't hear, Dr. Carr, you or many others in your similar political space advocating that we engage the Dems differently. All I hear is that we engage them specifically because they're the lesser of evil. We're not. I don't hear. I don't hear calls for
tonight. But if you watch me on Roland Martin, you certainly don't hear that.
Wait, we just heard him on Roland Martin, and that's exactly what he said. That's exactly what he said. I don't know.
I don't watch that much Roland Martin. But I mean, come on now. I can't be watching every single thing you say everywhere. You do a lot.
30-second clip.
Come on now.
You know.
And by the way, I watch everything. My brother Anthony watched everything. He watched more than I do. I'm pretty sure about that. He's seen this way before I did. But I watch everything. I watch everything that I'm opposed to, that I agree with, that I don't. I watch like white nationalists, a bunch of like rednecks saying the most craziest stuff that you could say, because like, yo, if you listen, I'm telling you, you will learn a lot. I listen to their financialists, strategists, and all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? The capitalism versus, you know what I'm saying, Marxists, white Marxists at least makes sense a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But I listen to like hell, flat Earth versus globe Earth. You know what I'm saying? Like everything. You know, pay attention to everything. You know.
Oh, it was more than 30 seconds. And again, you keep forgetting that we had our own direct exchange, and we also had a little bit in private text. So like you keep leaving that out and keep acting like I'm calling on some vague, and that is you keep also leaving out that I've known you for years. I've heard you speak for years in many different
all this
spaces.
stuff is irrelevant, I think.
Wash. So my point would be okay, see again. I mean, we could look. If I
first let's do the question because we kind of go.
Don't be a moderator. Let them go, bro. Don't moderate.
I'm sort of, to me, these two last questions are, I think there's an overlap or a parallel in how they can be answered, because we can't get to a different approach to electoral politics if, again, the overwhelming message from even our most popular, prominent luminaries is this caustic response in hostility to alternatives that are not, in line with voting for the lesser of evil. This is so again, we are forced to deal with Trump, and we will likely be forced to deal with him or something similar again.
You know what's messed up though? Like the bad part is like, my mom will be like, you have to go vote for Joe Biden so we don't get Donald Trump in. And no matter what I tell her, you know what I'm saying, it would make no difference. That's what makes me sad about this, you know what I'm saying? Because, my mom tells me, you got to go vote for Joe Biden. And they sit there and like react to they were watching the news and Donald Trump then got sued for like $80-some million or something like that. And their opinions of him is just too much, you know what I'm saying? Like, sure, let him. I hope he destroys their country. Like, I hope he destroys their country. You feel me? Like, good. Destroy this quote unquote democracy where, you know what I'm saying, you can't even vote where your tax dollars go. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I'm pretty sure black people will vote to get their own tax money and reparations or something, not send reparations to Ukraine. And like, I will say this, even if you are against reparations, if you're black, you know what I'm saying, you would have to say that you will be for reparations for black people as opposed to money for Palestine or Israel and Ukraine, you know what I'm saying? But that's not democrative, you know what I'm saying?
Primarily, or at least in large part, because those of us who would not want to vote for the lesser of evil are constantly encouraged to. This is why, since Du Bois's move in 50 whatever, that we have ever constantly moved. We were ever so.
And for some reason, Anthony, why do they teach through the eyes of W.E. Du Bois? Like, what is it about W.E. Du Bois that they teach? Is it that talented Tim stuff? Like, I'm I'm not trying to diminish W.E. Du Bois, but why specifically him out of all the people that come out? Like a lot of quote unquote black intellectuals would be like, oh yeah, like W.E. Du Bois said something, like, that's good, but I said this, you know what I'm saying? What I said, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't agree with everything. I don't agree with everything Ida B. Wells said, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna be like, I'm gonna be like, Ida B. Wells said have a shotgun in every home. But you know why? Because you should probably do that today. You know what I'm saying? Like, and she also went on a tour to England. I would say, like, I disagree with that, Miss Ida B. Wells. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to teach through her lens to respect her. Why do they do that with like W.E. Du Bois?
So you mentioned, so I'll stop here, but you mentioned my Green Party efforts and end up supporting Rosa and things that most people want and would benefit from, like healthcare, minimum wage increase, and end to AFRICOM, a defunding of the military, defunding of the police, and end to student loan debt, guaranteed incomes, guaranteed jobs, like all of these things that we should be pushing for and struggling for. We constantly have to keep pushing back on the back burner because the constant refrain, the tidal wave of refrain is, if we don't vote for the lesser of evil, we're going to get a Nazi.
Jared, let me just ask you a question. First of all, and I don't, again, I'm not hearing anything I disagree with in terms of our ultimate objectives.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about tactics, and again, I could be wrong. I mean,
brother's too smart to have this answer, yo. That's what you.
And I wasn't, even in everything I've said before, in this exchange, when I talk about judicial, you talk about court decisions,
I haven't heard you say anything about anything I said, including the critique of the extent to which any of that stuff can be.
No, I did. I said I have
Right.
asked for evidence that
Right,
would
but
show that.
show me how getting Ketanji Brown or whatever the sister's name is, no disrespect to any black person, you know. But how does that help black people? You know what I'm saying? How does the Democrats' selection help black people? I'm not saying Clarence Thomas helped black people, but how does the other black person replacing them help black people? That was the question he had asked them, I think, like, what is this, like 45 minutes ago?
I talked about
supporting have helped the
just take
collective.
one. I
She's a
mean,
black,
So I did.
She's
restrictive
a sister,
covenants,
bro.
for or against.
Again, how has that helped?
She is a black woman, but she's a clone, you know what I'm saying? Willing to
When I
sell
talk
all of
about
us out.
judicial, you talk about court decisions. I haven't heard you say anything about anything I said, including the critique of the extent to which any of that stuff can be.
No, I did. I said I have asked for evidence that would show that the arguments
I
you've made about supporting have helped the
just take
collective
one. I mean,
materially. So I did.
Restrictive covenants, for or against.
Again, how has that helped the material condition overall of the black community? It hasn't.
Covenants.
Okay, all right, well, good.
And by the way, black people still aren't able to pass down homes from generation to generation. You know that the disparity in the wealth gap, and how they attribute that to home ownership and all of that. So like, but a black family can move to the suburbs today, so everything is okay.
So that one issue has been insufficient. That's all I'm saying.
Well, maybe, and I'm not even know that we're disagreeing. And that's good. When you say the material condition of the black community, I guess when I hear that, I'm trying to process what that means, for lack of a better term. Please don't be offended. In the real world, in other words, we say the black community, the material condition of the black community. For example, Obama,
like black people.
And again, I interact on Roland Martin because people watch it. Again, and I'm certainly not a fan of quoting Lenin, but I'm using Lenin the way that Abdul used Lenin. In other words, we could have ideological clarity in a small circle and keep taking the L in the larger society, or we could continue to build in the small circle and continue to try to be in these other spaces and push people. And so if you watch, and I'm not saying anybody should watch it, I'm very clear about audiences and how audience differ. There's nobody consistently more critical of that neoliberal Democratic Party in that particular space, not this space. That's a given. Than I am in those conversations when Obama comes up. But let me just, and this isn't defending Obama administration, but I would say, and again, now I don't know whether you would categorize this as individuals, as distinct from specifics applying to groups of people. But if you are in the class, maybe this will help bridge it. If you're in the class of person who might have been arrested for crack cocaine,
black people, the race of people who have been,
let's say, like
that class,
Ketanji Brown Jackson's blood uncle, one of the women who's being considered to be appointed, who she ain't say much, although she was on the Sentencing Guideline Commission appointed by Obama. Let's say you're the Attorney General appointed by Obama, nominated and confirmed, Eric Holder, who told his prosecutors, do not seek the maximum sentencing. In fact, do not prosecute. If you are someone who worked in the federal courts during that period, then you could come in this space and say, I saw lives that could have been thrown in the trash. Now, maybe these are individuals. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to get some common ground. We're talking.
Do you care about individual
that weren't
black
thrown in the
people?
trash because the prosecutors came in and said, we were told not to charge.
Now, I don't know where course he go to, right? I went to court. One black dude got up. He got pulled over. He had drugs on him, but he had a gun in the car, but it was like a legal gun, and it was his mom's car and his mom's gun. And the judge was like, no, you can't get your gun back because whatever reason, you know what I'm saying? And then fined her and then locked him up. Another young brother came up. It was like, his first offense, he was like, I forgot what it was. It wasn't like something major, but she was like, yeah, no, lock his ass up. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I went to the court. I I have never voted for like a president or nothing like that. My first time I was able to vote was the first time Obama was running for president in 2008. That's when I was like 18, right? And I didn't vote for Obama, even though the first time I maybe even should have for the culture, but I didn't. You know what I'm saying? I did vote for the mayor, a black Democratic mayor, LeVar Stoney. You know what I'm saying? Not because he was a Democrat, because he was a black dude, and the white dude who was running against him was like, yo, he took advantage of like a 17-year-old girl, Morrissey, but black people love him because he's like, he got a lot of black people off. He's a lawyer, but he got like a 17, 16-year-old black girl pregnant, and he was like 40 or like 38, 40 or something like that. And he's not saying, I don't know if he's Jewish or not, but he's a shyster for sure. You know what I'm saying? And I voted for the black dude, and guess what? Same stuff. You know what I'm saying? He's Democrat first, by the way. You know. But anyway, my bad.
For this, now,
yeah, this is embarrassing for
Obama.
historians.
It's certainly not caping for Obama and Eric Holder, but I am saying that that's different than
and I hope everything goes good for you, bro.
Under Trump, when they're out there clearing squares. Now, Black Lives Matter.
And the crazy thing, I was there with my dad who had to go to court because like somebody ran him off the road, but they took off, and so they gave him the ticket. And my dad is like still messed up to this day from that accident, you know what I'm saying? But in a wheelchair and stuff like that, you know, but like they couldn't do anything to him. But that's why I was in court with my dad, and I seen like nothing but black men from like 18 to like 22. Like they couldn't have been that old, and they all and this white bitch, this judge was like burning them all, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and this place is, Virginia is more of a Republican place because like most of the places is like rednecks, Confederate flags everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like you dudes with Confederate flag belt buckles and stuff like that. Like if you go like an hour outside of Richmond, there's nothing but like hills have eyes stuff. But the major cities and the officials in the major cities is black for the most part. In my city, and like our city council, most of them is black, you know what I'm saying? But it's the same story, you know what I'm saying? It ain't just because they're black. What they leave out is that black people was talking about representation, you know what I'm saying? Like somebody to speak for them. And at the end of the day, if you're not funding, okay, we'll get to that because he asked them a solution.
I mean, everything you named, I'm in full agreement, but I'm saying it's more complicated than being ideologically
he never answered
consistent
any of them
in the broad sense, because we all understand the structural critiques. Now, on the ground, on the material reality, the lived experiences of black folk, if we want to narrate that as a bunch of individuals and perhaps even ideologically say that these people are just going to have to suffer until these contradictions are heightened to the point where there will be a structural rebellion, I'm there for the conversation. We have to think through that.
He said, I'm there for the conversation. Listen, you're going to go hungrier and broker. You're going to rebel or get killed in one. So that's up to us, you know what I'm saying? Like, but if you haven't noticed, like rent is like $10,000 for like a 10-foot bed apartment, you know what I'm saying? And like food is like $600 for a carton of eggs, you know what I'm saying? Because one thing that the Democrats have always done was raise tax money. They'd be like, raise taxes on the rich. They raise taxes on your ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, rich to them is any nigga making over, and not to say that, but that's what they would say. All right, you know. But any N-word making over like 50,000 is rich to them because that's when your tax bracket change. They tax the hell out of you. You know what I'm saying? And then, all right, I ain't gonna go there.
But I think there's something to be gained in learning from past struggles, which is why I kept evoking a few of those struggles from the past, which constantly bring us back to this point. How do we move forward from this point? Because quite frankly, in a few months, there are going to be 2022 midterm elections, and I am chastened.
Get silly, and I could say things like, well, how do any of those cases impact Mike Brown, who still got killed by a cop? Or how does that, how does, it's
All right,
the point is
that's serious business. I don't know.
But obviously,
maybe
you keep doing that. That's not my point. You keep doing the thing of would you rather have. So
no, I'm asking.
So because obviously, because anybody could do that. I mean, I could get real. I mean, we could be silly and start saying, well,
I'm not being silly. I'm literally trying.
I'm saying we could get silly, and I could say things like, well, how do any of those cases impact Mike Brown, who still got killed by a cop? Or how does that, so my point is so what I'm really trying to say is if I don't, so for instance, when you talk about the historical examples that I think you keep leaving out are those among the most radical and rebellious and the ones with the most even the ones who are most clear in their radical ideology, even to be part of the conversation.
It's even sicker than that. He's leaving out. He's talking about stuff that if he talked about the entire story, like we would like just looked at today, like if he's actually talking about stuff that if we talked about the entire story, you will see that it goes against what he's saying, but he knows which parts to say and which parts to leave out. Yeah, a black person ended slavery in Mexico. You know what I'm saying? And they would be like, yeah, like we've always stood with Mexico. But they would leave out that they killed that dude. They shot him, you know what I'm saying? Because he was black, or they perceived him as black, even though he was like black and Mexican mixed, you know what I'm saying? But he had a drop of black blood, so they killed him. They left that whole part of the story out, which makes the big difference. Like they always leave the part where you get stabbed in the back out, which is the problem, you know what I'm saying? Because how we gonna learn? Like we keep doing the same thing, but that's why they be like same thing with the Arabs and this Palestine nonsense, you know what I'm saying? Like, dude, like, yo, the dude that called, they like, yo, we stood up for you with George Floyd. Well, yeah, you called the police on him, you fucking got him killed, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man.
You make your own argument that concludes as you do. You don't have to leave out those historical examples either. And you don't have to leave out the historical examples of their arguments as to why they did not advocate the vote, or at least make that a primary or argue for the lesser of evil, when they engaged the vote. So
Black people in 1968 did not say lesser of two evils. They said, let's burn this MFer down. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you look at it, why did they pass the Civil Rights Act? Because they called it the long hot summer, I think, or I forget which one it was. They called it the long hot summer. And of course,
mention the rebellions of the enslaved. You could mention RAM and RNA. You could talk about Dr. King's arguments around the electoral politics. Malcolm X's. I don't hear that. That's all. That's my primary point here. So like, I don't feel like when you say this point again about that is again this dismissive refrain of the left just want to be ideological the major parties. But what I would advocate is that we develop even if it is.
So he has some solutions.
So what
the rebellions of the enslaved? You could
that's what led to Bill Clinton. So I'm saying some of this stuff is not
of evil. This last time.
Walk us through it. I mean, because good. This is straight tactic. This is straight strategy, and I ain't claiming to be in the streets for no, not at all.
Well, you were talking about being in the, talking about the,
No, I mean, and it's
Bakari used the N word like 42 times on this last live, so he can't really say nothing.
This isn't a
Roland Martin's street community of audience.
This is not a matter of us talking about bona fides. I mean, and although some of it is, I'm old enough now. I was an undergrad when Jesse ran president the first time. It's a very different conversation in '84 than '88. When I was in law school, we were going to Atlanta because it was going to be a brokered convention. Remember, Dukakis didn't have it, and Jesse sold everything out. He got his son, Joe Lewis' son, all them on the Democratic National Committee. Ron Brown became the chair of the Democratic National Committee. That's what led to Bill Clinton. So I'm saying some of this stuff is not based on, it is being there and seeing, in addition to the other stuff. This is when Farrakhan, the second rise, as they say in the Nation of Islam, all that stuff is there. But that's not what I'm saying. I think we're at this moment now, we're talking tactics and strategies. And this is all really, so what would
the Democrats?
I don't know exactly what people should do muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did
No,
I?
no.
I didn't mean to take.
No, I said there was actually a question I was going to ask both of you, but go ahead.
What should we
So,
do?
so
And that's a question people often ask when they are in that situation. And the answer he should have gave here, I guess I could skip it because he just said I don't know. But answer he should have gave, even if you want to talk about voting and all of that stuff, your ancestors died for, first of all, not to be enslaved. They was fighting for freedom. You know what I'm saying? That's first and foremost. Second, they was killed. You know what I'm saying? They was killed because you dealing with some monsters. You know what I'm saying? Like, but if anything, when it comes to voting, it was about representation. Where if they gonna pay taxes, where is those tax dollars going? They gonna have officials that is for them, by them. You know what I'm saying? Like that is like FUBU. You know, it wasn't to just have the vote. It was for representation. So number one, the what you want to do is like if you're gonna talk about voting, then put money up and have a candidate that you funding because any candidate, whatever, especially I mean not especially, but any candidate, black, whatever, is going to do what the people who fund them say. And you're going to take money to try to win office more often than not. And the ones who don't, they'll get voted for. Because I used to vote for this dude all the time who ran for city council. And he only got like 200 some votes every time. But I voted for him. Like I voted like probably 3 times. But I voted for him every time. You know what I'm saying? So what you do is like, if you want to take that route, then you literally put your money behind the damn candidate and you put them in there. Now that's if you want to take that route, you know what I'm saying? Because I get that we don't want to deal with the real way that you're going to have to deal with it, you know what I'm saying? But they're never going to, you know, that's the answer if you want to talk about voting. But if we talk about voting, we be like, yo, vote or die and all this nonsense, you know what I'm saying? Like, why don't we vote for like we'll take a vote for the best business black men and women and form a council strictly to fund and grow black businesses that we all can contribute to, whether we got like $1,000 or $1, we all can contribute to, and this business be like transparent, and they tell us what they're gonna do. We see what they're doing. We know all of that, and as soon as they get corrupted, we drop them. You know what I'm saying? But if that's what we're gonna do, why not vote on that kind of stuff? Or let's take a vote on which like business are we not going to support anymore? Is it going to be like a Wells Fargo? Is it going to be like Kroger? We all just stop going to that business. You know what I'm saying? So voting would matter a lot more in that situation.
I am advocating that. So I understand the reality.
But he said, I don't know. That was my answer for him.
Now, I'm asking is in that
context, but I would rather, but ideally, really, what I would rather see is along with that platform as a beginnings of a basis. I would like to see an actual mass exodus from the Democratic Party. I wouldn't advocate supporting her or anybody else. And let's again, to your point, heighten some of these contradictions and see what happens. Thank you. But my point is really, and I want to reemphasize this to be very clear, because I don't claim to have this all figured out.
No,
any number of
all the way back, go to the book that he wrote after
all right.
Places where policy
I wish I had the other timestamp.
The comings and goings in the real lives of people who suffer in this radically racist capitalist system, that militaristic system that King was organizing against.
I gotta say capitalism a few times.
And maybe I don't, and again, I mean, the reason I quoted Lenin earlier was I wasn't quoting what is to be done. I'm quoting Abdul Al-Kalamat, because I'm be quite frankly with Lenin, Marx, Mao, all of them.
And by the way, don't be confused when they do that class stuff, is so that they can invite other people to the cookout. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that either of they probably have black women. I would say they probably have black women, all of them married to black women, but that's why they always be like, oh, you talk black, but then you sleep white. It's usually, you know what I'm saying, the people who like, oh, race and class, and you know what I'm saying, we all like oppressed peoples of the world and people of color and black and brown and this nonsense, you know what I'm saying? Now, Greg Carr knows better than that, though, you know?
You go down the list, right? I think that it's no need for me to enter those conversations, except I'm going to come in through a Max Stanford, since you named Max and Philly.
Who is Michael?
So you say Ram.
What do you mean?
I'm going to come in through a CLR James. I'm not going to come in through those other folks. They're not Bibles. We're not talking about Bibles. But I'm saying in the case of Martin Luther King, I think that's a great example of somebody who, at least as I read him and think about him, including, and I'm glad y'all had that conversation, a little bit of conversation about Andrew Douglas in them book, the little new book on King, where it opens where King tells Andy Young to shut up because you're a capitalist and I'm not. You understand what I'm saying?
Now it's a personal thing to him, trying to use something he said against him. Now this is just something just in the debate, but Martin Luther King said, "I feared I brought my people into a damn burning house," and I fear he was right about that.
And then, of course, King is assassinated, and Andrew Young becomes, as you know better than any of us, Kalonji down there in Atlanta, the patron saint of black bourgeois neo.
Yo, Anthony, that's why you gotta hit me on IG, bro. You gotta hit me on that joint so I could see that joint and come on. Because I was like, I had got out work and all that.
Liberal work, and that's not what Dr. King was talking about. But I don't think Dr. King would have said that. I don't know that he would have just.
All right, let me get to the end, bro.
I mean,
what do you mean?
See what the
Democratic Party. So, and I am
fascist regime, and I'm not saying, I'm not
was here 50 years ago. So I don't understand where like this
fascist regime, and I'm not saying, I'm not.
If Trump get elected, we all doomed, y'all.
Defending any of the parties. That's what I'm saying. I'm not caping for the
Democrats. But that's the other thing. So but again, like George Jackson was right that fascism was here 50 years ago. So I don't understand where like this narrative that was evolved that Trump is somehow some brand new super evil that has never existed.
Saying things I didn't say.
No, well, because you keep making reference in the same way that I'm arguing needs to stop to the Republican Party as a fascist Nazi party, as if they're that much worse than the Democratic Party. So where we definitely disagree is that you're saying that there has been significant difference in change from the Democratic Party, and I'm saying there has been woefully insignificant and insufficient change from the Democratic Party. So, and I am talking about whether it's my own lived experience or those particularly of the students that I teach and deal with on a daily basis. I mean, wouldn't these, to use your same line of argumentation, wouldn't these communities do much better if they had a guaranteed income and national health care and a minimum wage? Okay, because we can't get it by voting for the lesser of evil. And by
you
voting
said
for
we can get it by not voting at all in the two parties.
I'm saying, I'm saying eventually it wouldn't come any sooner than voting.
You got a damn better chance. He said you gonna get it with not voting. He was like, we ain't gonna do nothing. That's when they start getting mad. They be like, oh, so what you gonna do if you're not vote? You just gonna sit there, don't complain. You the one that's complaining. Like, hell, insulin, still like $900 a bottle unless you got like insurance,
minimum wage. Okay, because we can't get it by voting for the lesser of evil. And by
you
voting
said
for
we can get it by not voting at all in the two party system.
Yo, we are raw. We kind of are, but we have to expect this because you got to expect your enemy to make moves. They're never going to just lay down and die. So like, they're going to do things to counter us, and their last move have been effective. You know what I'm saying? But I think ultimately, you know what I'm saying, we will just like they will be, but. That's the thing. Your enemy is always going to make moves. So like, there's going to be times where we took an L with this, in the last generation or two, like from like the 60s to like the crack epidemic to like, you know what I'm saying, all of the things that the white bitches and the affirmative action and all that stuff that just, you know what I'm saying, came to an end. I think that integration was a move by them. He is a historian, but I don't think he thinks that. I think he thinks black people fought for integration and the right to do this and the right to do this. But the dude in 1968 said that, or whenever he said it, I'll have these N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. Integration was like, in my opinion, a move by them. Like, they ran the NAACP, all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? White people.
I'm saying eventually it wouldn't.
I think the youth have an opportunity especially because after their birth rates is not, because that's something that the other dude Roland Martin mentioned, that about their birth rates and stuff like that. But our youth have an opportunity to do something, and I think that the energy is a lot different from what we were like 30 years ago. But I think that the youth have grown up to do, and I think the older, like us as older people, have grown up to do, you know.
Come any sooner than voting for the Democrats. I'm saying we got to do. That's why I'm saying if people
Oh,
had done
no,
something
I
differently
think
in the
that's
1950s,
good.
and people had followed Du
That's
Bois
good.
then,
That's
maybe
good.
by now we would be better off.
That's
But
good.
we're not.
Well, we know
They had
Du Bois
nominated-
left. We know Du Bois left the country, but I also know that if we would draw from
We
the
had
two-party
nominated the
system, how do you see this playing out?
talented 10
Because
back
see,
then.
well, I'll tell you in 30 seconds how I see this playing out. Federal polity is getting ready to disintegrate.
Mm-mm.
The federal polity is getting ready to disintegrate. When they
Good.
Cancel Roe.
Good.
Roe in some way.
That's the thing they leave out. Good. I know that people be like, okay, I get it. I have nothing to lose, but I know people like, oh, you don't want to go back to this, but that's the thing, bro. That's what makes it so deceptive and crazy, because we are lost in the sauce, because it's just enough comfort not for you to not riot, but it's enough for you to complain all damn day. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this time we didn't have that comfort, and we like did what we had to do, but it's no different situation. Like, we don't get that at all. Like,
is a prelude to the type of attack on federalism that we saw in the 1850s with Dred Scott. In other words, take the specific issue out and introduce the impact on the federal polity. I'm saying I don't see that as a bad thing necessarily. I'm saying that California, when you see Gavin Newsom say, I'm looking at Texas and the way that they're going to deputize everybody in Texas to basically bankrupt people if they try to help somebody terminate a pregnancy, I'm going to use that same legal argument to go for the guns in California when they superheat the Constitution, particularly the Second Amendment. What I anticipate happening is there's going to be a fracture in this country, and it will look closer to the 1860s. It's not going to be the 1860s because that's the 1860s. But what you will see is
as opposed to 1987. You know what I'm saying? With all the dead black people and black people in jail in 1987. Like, yo, we don't have to go back to 1850 or 1860. It's never changed. What did they be like? Yo, in the 80s, they used to say it is more black people in prison today than ever was in slavery. You know what I'm saying? That was a point that they said why slavery wasn't so bad, because more black people was locked up today than during chattel slavery. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, like they keep talking about some go back to 18. What do you think that? Oh yeah, I forgot. This is 2020. This is 2023. This is 2024. Racism is over.
Be safer to live in Maryland and California than it is to live in Texas, Georgia, Mississippi, places where you have enough people, if organized, that they could literally take over. What you see even at the local level, whether it be Jackson, whether it be Birmingham, you name any of these cities.
What? You mean the cities with the water crisis is going on? This is not against black people. I'm saying this is an attack on black people. So I'm not blaming these young black people, you know what I'm saying? But I would say, like others have said, the mayors is not like their fathers was, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, cities with the water crisis.
Cities, and I've named Jackson because I know that Chokwe, that Antar isn't left enough, even for some of the black people he organized with.
It's them left.
You know what I'm saying? But I also know that the state of Mississippi is determined to shut Jackson down. And I'm saying that if this thing fractures, we're going to see something. You know, we're going to be faced with a fight. And if we're faced with a fight like
if they shut this down, we might have people down there with water, with sewer water coming out their sink. Oh wait, no, that's already going on. It's been going on for like 70 years, no matter who been the damn. And by the way, for the people who like, yo, like look at the black community the last 50 years. Like, what was happening 70 years ago? You know what I'm saying? Under the other people, then if that's the case, like it's all the same stuff.
Then yeah, we got to go get the strap. And at that point, everybody putting the books down.
Wait. So if we getting dirty water, even though the Democrats in, then that means it's time to get the straps.
You see what I'm saying? But I also know that the state of Mississippi is determined to shut Jackson down. And I'm saying that if this thing fractures, we're going to see something. You know, we're going to be faced with a fight, and if we're faced with a fight like that, then yeah, we got to go get the strap. And at that point, everybody putting the books down. But I think that's the direction we're going in. If that's what we need to do, then yeah, we're draw from the two parties. Let's just
if voting for Democrats,
if we gonna actually get free, then yeah, let's do it. But you ain't gonna do that. You ain't gonna do that. You got children to think about. You know, it's crazy.
is really the only thing keeping us from that, then we should definitely be getting ready.
I'm gonna get off here because I think the game
almost over. They're not a defense against that.
Next question, gentlemen.
Some of y'all probably
both
still watching.
Educators at HBCUs.
This one for Bakari here. That's why I had to play. I had to keep it going because
strap. And at that point, everybody putting the books down. But I think that's the direction we're going in. If that's what we need to do, then yeah, we're draw from the two parties. Let's just
if voting for Democrats is really the only thing keeping us from that, then we should definitely be getting ready because they're not a barrier. They're not a.
Now these two brothers, as much as the situations that they're in, said it better. If that's the situation that we're in, then we best get ready. The first thing I agree with all night, you know what I'm saying? You best get ready, you know what I'm saying? So there you go.
Defense against that.
Next question, gentlemen. You both educators at HBCUs, two of the most prestigious in North America. My question for you all is a question of power, because of the fact that we can go back and forth about the strategies and tactics. How do we obtain, how do Black people build community and obtain power while in this particular country?
That's easy, man. You build at the local level. That's always been the case. That's always been the case. You know, when
you want to know the truth, how do you get power? Do you want to know the truth? Because I will tell you right now, you take that, you know what I'm saying? His Raw would say, pick a time and place on the clock and do what you got to do, you know?
While in this particular country.
That's easy, man. You build at the local level. That's always been the case. That's always been the case. You know, when I think of how we think, you know, when Ralph Bunche said in 35 that the Negro was a special ward of the Supreme Court, we have to understand that. And again, I mean, look, we don't have.
Bro, don't lean on your knowledge of history to answer these questions.
And I'm not here. I mean,
Professor, elder brother.
I think it's valuable. And I would agree with Adolph Reed on this, particularly like in his latest book, The South, when he talks about this. Apartheid retarded the class divisions that would have naturally formed in the Black community. When you see the legal assault on segregation, that served the Black bourgeois, that tiny group that they have been trying to cultivate since the end of the Civil War. This is why Booker T. Washington was picked, right? And so I'm saying all that to say that power.
I didn't say anything disrespectful about Booker T. Washington this time, so it was not me. He said it.
Has always come from local organizing and people coming together. I mean, we throw names around, we throw titles around. You look, we say, well, you know, Cargie Woodson, Miseducation of the Negro. When you read Miseducation of the Negro, this is a guy that worked in a coal mine who happened to get a PhD from Harvard.
All right, I forgot the question.
And encourages, more importantly, our communities to become more radically organized and involved. That's.
All right, it's no.
And this obviously.
Let me see the moderator.
We agree on so much. My whole point is I want Dr. Carr to share more of what I know we agree with the other audience.
Different conversation, you know. And
on the docket was looking for that, and to you know, just to circle back real quick, you asked me about who would I prefer.
I have to play one more part for y'all that I gotta find it.
Kemp or Abrams. You know, in my case, I would say neither. Because of the fact that, you know, to me, one is feces, one is shit. You know what I'm saying? So politics are local, and that's what groups like the Black Panther Party of Lowndes County.
There you go, Bugario.
How you toss it around?
But
it's going to be the same program.
It got to be.
But that's just me. But I am pro local politics because of the fact that, again, all politics are local, and that's what groups like the Black Panther Party of Lowndes County and the Black Panther Party of Oakland.
No question.
Those are things that they were reaching for. So, you know,
No
I salute that.
No
But I'm really curious because of the fact that first of all, I appreciate both of you.
Yo,
all
I
coming
took
on
too
board.
long.
Oh man,
But
if
if any of y'all want to
couldn't have
say
a Twitter
anything, let me
beef
know now.
for
So
the
I'll
next
put the
couple
link in the
years.
chat.
nah,
But
two
you
free
know,
characters. We can't say that. No.
in pleasing and appeasing other folks. So, however, I think that sincerity doesn't bring home the victory.
No.
You can be as sincere as you want to,
No question.
but unfortunately, I think that part of the reason we're in the conditions that we're in right now is because we've been so damn sincere in pleasing and appeasing other folks. So, with that being said, you know, we talked about the whole question of power, and one of the things you said in regards to, you know, if we were going to abandon the two-party system, then we had to
yeah, I know you've seen this too, Anthony. If you want to,
I think that,
if you do got something to say about it, let me know.
And
bro.
ultimately, that's
I'll put the
exactly
link
what's
in
going to
there, or any of y'all want to say
I
something.
think that we're prolonging the inevitable. You know what I'm saying? It's like the bully after school. You know, you either got to fight him or you got to get your ass whipped. You fight him, you might at least have enough dignity and strength where he might respect you and he might back up off you. But if you just walk out there and you know, try to sneak off, you have to deal with that situation. And I think that you know, it goes back to Malcolm with the ballad of the bullet. What is your
Now I played the Malcolm X ballad of the bullet at the beginning, and that's why. But
what did that mean to you? You know what I'm saying? In 2022, what does the ballad or the bullet mean? Here the day after Huey's birthday, the day after Khalid died. Tomorrow would be the assassination of Dedan Kamati, your namesake.
Ashe.
What does that mean to you all in 2020? Because we've quoted King and we knew Malcolm's stance, but the ballad of the bullet, how does that apply in 2022?
You know, when you mention that speech, Malcolm in that speech, and correct me if I'm wrong, let me pull it up. It's been a while since I read it. That as he was moving through the world, an internationalist giving a kind of global analysis of local struggle everywhere. And this is before he goes on his tour to Cairo, Nigeria, Ghana.
I'm sorry, y'all. He gives
and of course,
long answer.
he took that picture I dropped to the Ballad of the Bullet. He couldn't get an audience with Nkrumah. So they went to Shirley Graham and said, can you get him in to talk to U.S. foreign policy? You know, Carl Warren and all of them bourgeois Negroes were already fanned out all over the world trying to stop that kind of unity. So when you get to the Ballad of the Bullet,
bourgeois Negroes was spread across the world already trying to stop that kind of unity. And that's and why did the black people do it anyway? What's in it for you, bro? I never got it.
Speech, I think, which of course precedes all that. Malcolm is saying, you know, we might be pushed. This is a clear choice. Either we're going to engage in this in a process that's going to help our material conditions, or we're going to have to go to the weapons. Now,
so the question has it helped you at all? Right? You got Ketanji Brown in there. You got Clarence Thomas in there. You got Obama. You got Bill Clinton. Obama was the third black president. Joe Biden is the fourth. The first was Abraham Lincoln. The second was JFK. So you had 4 black presidents. You know, you're doing pretty good. So it's up to you. Is that good enough for you?
Last thing I'll say is, shortly before he made transition, Mrs. Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer, and of course we talk about Fannie Lou Hamer and her one and only trip to Africa when she was in Guinea with all them, Julian Bond, John Lewis and all them. John Lewis met Malcolm in East Africa. They sitting there talking. Anyway, Mrs. Hamer, who was very clear, I'm from Mississippi. I was born and raised in Mississippi. My fight is in the United States, but these are my people over here too. And this is where my people are from. And I feel like if I had known that earlier, I might even have developed a different politics coming on. But I'm clear that this is also our struggle over here.
They come to New York on a fundraising tour. Fannie Lou Hamer, register to vote, vote or die, all that kind of rhetoric, however you want to say. Malcolm introduces her at the Audubon Ballroom a night after he has introduced to her at a church at a forum where the Snick singers sing Oginga Odinga. That's where they debuted Oginga Odinga, of course. We went down to the Peachtree Manor to see Oginga Odinga.
Right. He has a lot of
central
information.
critique of imperialism, capitalism, all that stuff. He's not taking off the table the type of struggle Ms. Hamer's engaged in, and she's not taking off the table coalition politics. After he's assassinated, they asked Fannie Lou Hamer, you know how white people are. They put the microphone in the face. What do you think about Malcolm? She said, I love Malcolm X. He was my favorite person in the world.
Fannie Lou Hamer was a real one.
I loved him. I supported him. I'm saying in my mind, that's how you move forward. So to ask the question, the ballot.
And she said, and she had the pistol on her at all times. That was what she said.
But the bullet is to open up the possibility of the ballot and the bullet. In other words, we have to be smarter than to just accept the dialectic as if that is the way the world works. The world, the live world doesn't work like that. That just puts us in boxes. And I think the life of
because they voted in Afghanistan if they want to go, or South Sudan or Ghana, or the Biafra people, you know what I'm saying, they voted to get extorted, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's just how the world works.
Malcolm X. Certainly after you get that speech is evidence of that.
No disrespect at all.
But look, but for me, look at where we are today. Where today we went from the ballot or the bullet to the Democratic Party, or you get Nazis and fascists. So we go from something assertive, aggressive, clear in its goals and platform agendas and baselines and bright lines to something reduced to they're not the Republican Party. And that's where I see a huge problem today. So we're not getting the analysis that would say, yes, we may have to vote for Biden, but we're doing it in the context of a broader anti-imperial struggle. And this is where we are right now. And here are these other coalitions and politics that we're dealing with. We don't hear any of that. So even where Fannie Lou was, we don't hear any of that in today's rhetoric that we get imposed on most Black communities via the commercial Black press in particular, and other mainstream outlets where pundits are given free reign and ample opportunity and sometimes a bunch of money to say that. So,
yeah, and by the way, Anthony, have you agreed with the brother Jared Ball any other time? Because I probably haven't any other time.
So that is ultimately my point. I don't know exactly what to do going forward, but all I hear in the analysis, all I hear in the dominant narrative that we get is something that is whittled down, something that is far, far, far away from what Malcolm was advocating us to consider back in that speech. So, and I don't even remember it, honestly. It's been too long since I have to go back and read and listen to it. But
all right, so you made the point, right?
Is it still possible? Are we going to hell in a handbasket? Called for Carter G. Woodson month in the spirit of Malcolm's assassination, being assassinated 57 years in a couple days.
I agree with that. We can call it Carter
be
G.
the number. I know that the Black Panther Party called for a national coalition against fascism, a united front against fascism, a national united front against fascism. And I know that our brother Patrice Lumumba was hard at work at building a united Africa. What is the how does that fit in within you all's thinking? Is it still possible? Are we going to hell in a handbasket? Or are we still caught on trying to?
Let me tell you something. We have been dumped out of that handbasket, and we've been where the handbasket went a long time ago. Now we just chilling. Handbasket. We hoping for the handbasket to come back. You know what I'm saying? Like we still looking looking at the seat, waiting for that handbasket to come back to rescue us, I guess. But no, we stuck in hell.
Trying to build community, because we talk about Black community as if we actually have a Black community.
Oh, man.
So
no, I don't.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. So your thoughts on that? Like how do we move from here? Because of the
And yes, there could be a black community. There is a black community, and you know how I know, because I'm gonna try to do something to like talk to that community. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, they exist. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't know that, that's because you haven't went out there. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna say that we are the most united we've ever been. In fact, I would say that we are the most ununited that we have ever been in this country, and spanning since the Europeans got here to what we call now North America. We are the most disunited, and I still got hella hope for us, because if, relatively speaking, that is such a short amount of time. You know what I'm saying? So
fact that United Front and
all right, so y'all get the question. You know,
Beautiful.
at the end of the day, how, I guess, we'll get put back in slavery and we'll revolt and we'll stop arguing about stuff. I guess that's how we'll do it. I don't know. But at the end of the day, you know, this is no disrespect or anything to, you know, Professor Dr. Greg Carr. You know what I'm saying? Like, he knows so much history. It's just that why, like, don't, like, I vehemently disagree. I strongly oppose what you were saying. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I'm saying. This is no disrespect. You're a historian, and we don't have too many people that know all of these things. So, oh yeah, diametrically opposed to what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? So, at the end of the day, you know, it is what it is. So, I don't know, you know, how much money that it will take. And I get it. We live in a society where that's just what it is. But, you know, I don't know. But, you know what? For the last words, I'm going to do this, you know. And I'm not going to play this, but like I said, I played this at the ballot or
Give it
the
up to
bullet.
the moderate Negro
All right.
leaders, they'll be able to trick it up and make the world think that they passed something that doesn't really mean anything. So what you and I have got to do is get involved and enable the dark nations to band together and use the strength of their ballot to force the wealthy nations, which are the white nations, into giving more independence to other nations who are still under their jurisdiction. You and I have to look at this and understand this, that the ballot is as powerful as the bullet. Now, if you and I leave it up to the moderate Negro leaders, they'll be able to trick it up and make the world think that they passed something that doesn't really mean anything. So what you and I have got to do is get involved. You and I have to be right there breathing down their throat. Every time they look over their shoulder, we want them to see us. We want to make them pass the strongest civil rights bill they've ever passed. Because we know even after they pass it, they can't enforce it.
Ain't that something? We want them to do it so they can't, you know, enforce it. But they may take it away. So, you know what I'm saying? But all right, this is the last words, y'all.
Sure, there are many blacks now in Louisiana who are going to sleep after having come out to the polls and voted Dukes down.
He said, I don't never agree with him. I know you agree with him on that one statement to Professor Dr. Greg Carr.
Louisiana who are going to sleep after having come out to the polls and voted Dukes down, and who are feeling very proud about their voting prowess, and who saw the danger as Duke, who forgot their history, by the way, and remembered that at another time in history they were able to vote too, and those votes were taken away from them. And it took almost 100 years for them to regain the right to vote. So that, in a sense, this voting against Duke does not necessarily represent Black power. It was the absence of black power during the Reconstruction that permitted the voting, the franchise that blacks had for voting to be taken away. What then makes us sure that this franchise won't be taken away again? What have we done as a people to ensure that our right to vote will be determined by our power, not by the power of others? And I think we've done relatively little in that regard. There are some who are forgetting that 55% of whites voted for David. Did those 55% of the majority of whites who voted just walk away and forget about what they were concerned with simply because Duke didn't win office, or are they still there? In other words, then the issue moves beyond David Duke to the fact that we have a large number of whites who have certain attitudes, and those whites are still alive and well, and those attitudes are still there whether David Duke lives or dies tomorrow. So the issue is not Duke. The issue is a group of white folk, and a sizable group of white folk who has specific types of attitudes who are still there and who still then pose a threat to black freedom. In fact, Duke alone poses no threat to black folk. He's one person. You get the same kind of game that goes on with Hitler. We get the white media that projects the mad Hitler. Hitler, who his great oratory hypnotizes the German people. That's nonsense. Hitler did not build the concentration camps alone. Hitler did not go into Poland by himself. It took a whole German nation to cooperate with Hitler. If the German nation did not accept Hitler and support Hitler, then Hitler could not have had any influence or effect on history whatsoever. But we have a media, you see, that makes you perceive Hitler as the bad guy. It was the German people in relationship to Hitler that created the problem. And in the end, then it won't be individuals only, it will be groups of people against other groups of people. But if you have this tendency then to get caught up in individuals, you're going to miss the group phenomena, and you will miss often the organization of whole armies and whole groups of people against you. And you will be made to think simply because you vote down one individual, you have solved your problem. You could be no more wrong. You cannot be more wrong. What am I saying here then? We not only must read newspapers, but we must continue to educate ourselves in how to read them.
All facts, yo. Shouts out to my brother Anthony. Yo, I'm gonna hit you up on the Instagram, John. I gotta look up your name. I can't find you, bro. But shouts out to my brother Black Magus in the building, and I hope everything work out good, my brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, hopefully you come back with good news the next time I come on here. Shouts out to Raw. I know Raw already knows the answer for sure. You know what I'm saying? Shouts out to Considera. Considera is the truth. I'm telling you, you know what I'm saying? Support Considera and everything that she's doing. Cause she is like really out there doing it, you know what I'm saying? And as a woman is doing things that, you know, yeah, you definitely know it was good. Only shouts out to my brother Oni in the building, and yo, Oni was live earlier. You know what I'm saying? I had to catch the playback, but yeah, shouts out to my brother Oni. You know what I'm saying? In the building, yeah, check out the playback. You know what I'm saying? We was talking about Professor Greg Carr. You know what I'm saying? No disrespect to Dr. Professor Greg Carr. All love to that brother. Shouts out to Matron. Y'all subscribe. Yeah. I don't know if we all know the answer, Raw. That's the problem. I think that's why we still slaves. We don't want to know that we still slaves, you know what I'm saying? But that's a whole nother my brother Bakari, he was listening the whole time. Yo, it was something about HBCUs. Greg Carr said, "Oh, I'm an HBCU graduate, but HBCUs ain't the end all be all," you know what I'm saying? But it's definitely shouts out to HBCUs. But these two brothers in particular. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So shouts out to my brother Bakari. You know what I'm saying? Definitely subscribe to my brother Bakari. Shouts out to Matron. Y'all subscribe to Matron's channel. She gonna be back Monday. With Carlos Cooks, you know. So y'all subscribe to her. Shouts out to Erica Howard. Y'all definitely give love to Erica Howard. Y'all show love to Erica. Shouts out to Koku and Bitter Medicine Podcast. Okay. That's my brother. But yeah, my brother. So you already know it's all love. So and shouts out to, I'm forgetting somebody. Oh yeah, shouts out to Shanique. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where Shanique and Everett been, but hopefully everything good with them. So shouts out to you, to y'all. You know what I'm saying? And shouts out to all of y'all. You know what I'm saying? Bakari was watching the game, so he didn't want to say nothing in the chat. I'm just joking, my brother. I'm playing, but you know, let me not do that. It's time for me to get off. I've been on here way too long, but I appreciate y'all. And as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're going to keep falling for anything.